Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first match of the LCK 2018 Spring Split. I'm your host, Tom Temporal Nash. I'm joined by Aaron Halcyon Edwards, Jesper Benvarmeren, Kuntz, and Dara, Darxil. Gentlemen, how was your off-season?
Well, I've had a great offseason. I'm very hyped to see how the world champions are going to go up against the LCK champions, and I'm sure that we're going to have a great time here on the analyst desk.
I'm feeling the exact same way. I'm very optimistic for these two teams. I think it's going to be a brilliant best of three. Hopefully we'll go to the third game, and hopefully we'll see what innovative things they'll bring to this new patch.
Aaron, what do you think?
Of course, we've come off the back of a relatively successful Casper Cup for both teams. And this meta is looking to be KSV's boathouse, in all honesty.
Yeah, it plays to their wheelhouse slightly. What do you think of the start of the set, replaying a famous matchup at the World Championship that we didn't see happen? Hongzhou didn't make it to the finals, as we'd all hoped and dreamed. Face off against our other Korean overlords. Any thoughts?
I think it came down to the inexperience of the team, at least on an international stage, because they had to come together just at the start of Summer Split last year, and then pretty much not quite dominated everyone in Korea, because there was quite a tie at the top of the table last split. But then they did demolish SK Telecom in that playoffs and looked very dominant in the group stage at World. So I think after another competitive year under their belt, they'll be looking as a fine force to take this LCK split.
I'm not quite sure if it's really going to be that communication, like Aaron said there, that is really to blame. I think it's more coordination with maybe the coaching staff or maybe understanding of the meta that was the problem, because Peanut as well as Prey and Gorilla have been playing together since Rocks Tigers, so they have that three-man synergy that should be present. They should have at least that communication available for gank or to play around the bot side, which they like to do around Prey and Gorilla since they've been together for so long. So I'm not quite sure if it's really going to be that synergy that is the problem or that communication that's the problem. I think it's more of an understanding or a placement within the meta.
Okay. All right. Have you guys had much of a chance to play with patch 8.1? What do we think so far?
I hate Relic Shield.
I think that patch 8.1 is actually really nice, and I for one do really like the Relic Shield. I think it's a nice way of having these AD carries come into the mid game and even into the late game and actually swing some hammers, just to show that they can put down a lot of damage, and while getting to that point without having the armor or the magic resistance from the old runes, it's just easier with the Relic Shield.
But there is one thing that I can say about patch 8.1, and that is League of Stopwatches, my friends. I do not like that at all. As an AD carry main, being in that bottom side, about to get the kill, then they pop their stopwatch and get the flash heal away. It's just something that I really don't like.
I mean, I'm not a particular fan of the Relic Shield because we saw a lot at Worlds that teams would be playing through the bot lane quite a lot, and I feel that the Relic Shield takes that away. It's already difficult to play heavily through top lane and mid lane as it is, although we do have Kingzone Dragon X, which do play through their top lane. It just means that bot lane is even more safe, and it's a lot harder to try and get more advantages in that part of the map, although stuff that I have liked, at least in 8.1, is that the top lane meta is quite open, actually. There's a lot of different stuff that you can run. Of course, you have different tanks like Eoin. There's also some unique stuff coming out. You're seeing Camille quite a lot. You're also seeing Vladimir taking that unsealed spellbook as well. And of course, Kleptomancy on stuff like Gangplank.
Lots of thoughts about defensive play then. We'll see what the professional players do with the runes. It sounds interesting. What do we think about the bot lane matchup going into this set?
I thought you were going to take that. Do you want to take it or do you want me to go?
I think you want to talk about it, Darxil.
Yeah, I do want to talk about it. I love the bot lane matchup, especially as a carry main myself. I think that these two bot lanes will be very evenly matched, to be honest, and I'd like to see how they play around the current runes to see if they can get an advantage for themselves and if they can really bring out something that's maybe a little bit different or maybe a little bit surprising. I'm expecting to see something, one of those god tier picks that we've seen in Korean solo queue, like maybe the Varus or the Kog'Maw that would come out in those higher level solo queue games. If you can get the team to rally around you, maybe build that protect the Kog'Maw composition, or maybe they'll value going for maybe that Ezreal with the Kleptomancy, and maybe go for something protective like a Braum or maybe a Tom Kench that we see a lot as well. So I'd like to say that personally I'd like to favor Gorilla and Prey in the bot side, because they have so much synergy, so much time built up together, playing together. But I think it's an open game.
Well, I think that the bottom lane is also a lane that you have to look out for a lot in this series. However, I think that mid lane will be the lane where a huge priority is. BDD and Crown, I feel like they share a lot of the same champions. They are both very equally matched. And in order to control the Summoner's Rift, you want to have control of the mid lane. You want to have that priority. And talking about priority, you also have a carry top laner coming in from Kingzone Dragon X in Khan, who's not going to be playing this game, however. It is Rascal, but still, you have a carry top laner coming in from Kingzone Dragon X. They play a lot around the top lane, and, well, for them, they can also just switch down to the bottom lane to Prey and Gorilla, as you talked about, or even for KSV. They also have Ruler and Core JJ, who showed themselves to be a top-tier bottom lane at Worlds.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wanted
stop you
to.
guys there. We're gonna move on to the next segment so that we do not run out of short time before Game 1 gets underway. It is worth clarifying that Khan is banned for one best-of-3 series for his actions in solo queue. So Rascal, also a similar character top laner, will be replacing him for this series. So Kingzone has, since they were acquired by Kingzone, the Longzhu roster is the only roster to have changed in this matchup. Cuz is no longer the only jungler on the team. We now have SKT famous Peanut replacing him and will be starting in the set. Any thoughts, guys, on how Cuz and Peanut can maybe work together through this next year?
So I want to see how Peanut and BDD build synergy together, because Cuz and BDD synergy was brilliant going through the Summer Split as well as Worlds. So I'd like to see how they end up integrating Peanut. I'm expecting this team to be a lot more aggressive, specifically like Rock's Tigers from 2016, because they do have that core of Peanut, Prey and Gorilla as well. So I would like to see exactly how BDD is going to be playing around with Peanut.
I mean, I think we're all excited for it, right? Does that sound like something we want to watch?
Well, I always love seeing aggressive junglers, especially towards that mid lane, since it's such a high priority lane. Getting that first tier tower in the mid lane, open up the map, especially on the objectives either side of the mid river, and go for that Baron play. Maybe Rift Herald, snowball top lane, or maybe continue to snowball the mid lane. It will also open up the Drake pit. So I'm dying to see maybe Peanut on one of those aggressive tanky junglers that he's so confident on, like the Olaf, like the Sejuani or the Gragas. But I don't think that the Gragas or Olaf are really in this meta, so it's more than likely going to go for the Jarvan, maybe go for that Sejuani, both of which are highly regarded in the meta.
Okay, right. Let's hope we get some first towers down and Dara can be all warm and fuzzy. Gentlemen, your predictions for Game 1.
Well,
No, let's go for predictions for the stat. Let's go for a prediction for the stat. Do we think 2-1, 2-0? Which way are we?
Oh, I'm thinking 2-0 for KSV Esports. I think that Kingstone Dragon X, they are hurt a lot by not having Khan playing this best of 3 series, and therefore the world champions, they will come out victorious 2-0.
Okay.
I'm also going to go with 2-0 to KSV. I think the top lane matchup up there is going to be quite a discrepancy. Rascal only played 2 professional games last year. He played once in summer and once at Worlds, so he is extremely inexperienced. And Cuvée is one of the best top laners in the LCK at the moment and had a phenomenal performance at Worlds. So I'm expecting him to just run away with that matchup top lane, and then they can bring that into the rest of the game.
Can't dispute that. Strong top lane. Dara, your prediction.
Well, I'd like to mix it up a little bit. I'm not going to go completely against what the other 2 lads were saying, but I would like to give it 2-1 to KSV, because I think that they have the building blocks of what they can put together to make a good team. Maybe take a game or 2 away from KSV, but I don't think that they're going to take the 2. I think they might be able to manage to take the 1 once they get Khan back. But apart from that, they're just going to be steamrolled.
Okay. Well, I personally think 2-1
Let's
to
put
KSV
2
as
finer
well.
point on it, but they're going to lose.
You don't think Rascal's up to sniff at all?
No,
Okay.
I don't believe a Rascal.
All right. I think KSV have probably enjoyed their break. They might not be on fighting form. We were all disappointed with the Casp Cup when KT just decided to smash everyone. I think Ambition's probably got it, but might not be super disciplined in the first match, so I think 2-1 KSV. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll pass it over to our Shoutcasters for the first game and get you started as soon as possible.
man. That's pretty cool, Papa. I like it.
New graphics, new look here to the Spo TV broadcast, and you'll notice that Gangplank is the first ban on blue side. Wasn't a big pick in the LPL yesterday, but speaking to a lot of Korean pro players, they still think that Gangplank really has jumped up. Of course, one of the big kleptomancy abusers in the top lane, can beat a lot of tank matchups. Very good matchup into Aaron, for example. A farm lane for Gangplank with kleptomancy, with all the extra sources of income, means he's online earlier. So very early ban, and 3 tank bans. Seems like Peanut wants to go into a DPS matchup in the jungle.
Yeah, lots of tank bans, but also you got that Shen, who can be a bit of a flex. We've been seeing some Shen support. And look at the other side, KSV banning 380 carries. You notice that the Kog'Maw is taken away. We will not be seeing Ruler on that, but also Ezreal, another Klepto user, and Callista being banned.
Now, right now, we have a hyper carry meta. When we get into game, I'll go into a bit of how it's developed, because at All-Star, it was about the poke AD carries. It was a lot of Misfortune versus Jhin. We still may see Misfortune, which was permabanned on LPL yesterday. Still powerful on 8.1, even with some of the lethality items powered down. The tank supports and hyper carries have been the meta. Kog'Maw and Callista, really big in solo queue in Korea. And of course, tank support, like Tom Kench, rises in popularity, trying to keep those hyper carries safe.
Yeah, may disencourage a pick like Alistar or Leona that would want to dive on in, because Tom Kench will help out with saving those 80 carries. We were talking about a lot of 80 carries. We got Varus picked up here first for KSV. Wants to pick that up before anything else gets banned.
I thought it would be out with the old and in with the new, but it's back to the old. The most famous Varus we have in this league is Ruler, who played it by a far margin, his most picked. In solo queue, at least, Crown has been focusing on the Azir, but because Azir, Ryze actually has a good matchup into Azir, win rate-wise, and also in pro play, just going to go straight for the Ryze, but BDD, very early Cassiopeia to answer it in lane.
Yeah, no hesitation with that pick at all. We did see some Ryze play over in LPL. Not a lot of Cassiopeia counter picks, but KZ, they have a different mindset here.
When I looked into stats of what people were playing in solo queue a couple of days ago, at the time, in the past week, BDD was 9-1 on Cassio. There's been so much Ryze in solo queue, and will we see the Peanut special? Peanut did not play a single game of Nidalee on SK Telecom, despite it being his big pick on the Rocks Tigers. It's locked in here, and Peanut Nidalee, people called for it all of 2017. We get it on day 1 in 2018.
I guarantee you the Twitch chat is filled with PogChamps, Craigasms, whatever you have. It's going to be a fun one. I love watching Peanut play Nidalee in solo queue, in competitive. It's been a long time, as you mentioned, but we get it back. On the other side of the Rift, KSV is going to pick up Gnar, a safe pick for the top lane.
Peanut was undefeated in the entirety of 2016 on the Nidalee, his big pocket pick. So cool to see it here. Really explains why the Sejuani was banned. Wants to get into a tussling matchup here, does Nidalee. But we're going to get into the second round, and Camille, which has been a big favorite as a flex pick, interestingly, not just the top lane, but jungle. Blank has been playing a lot of it in solo queue. Will be banned away. Good matchup into Gnar, so just giving a bit of coverage for QV in the top lane.
Yeah, before we started, we were talking about what would QV play, what should we look towards. We were thinking Camille, Gangplank, but after those two get banned out, has to go for that Gnar. We do have a Kha'Zix ban on the other side here by Kingzone, just a very strong top-tier jungle pick here.
But the big surprise is no Aaron in the ban list, let alone in the pick list, so no priority on that. There's a lot of interesting matchups to talk about around Aaron. Most of them are farm lanes for Aaron. Feels like there's other champions like Gangplank that can have some weak matchups. Vlad Top is a big pick into the Gangplank here in solo queue, but just banning away power picks. It is Rascal today, so it is a different flavor of top lane. You don't have to respect the Jace, at least in the first round, like you would if Khan was playing. So with Rascal in the lineup, will still be a second round Jace ban. And look at this, Taric ban, just wanting to stop there being a full-on 5v5 team fight comp from the side of KSV. If you throw in invulnerability to what KSV had in the first round, and now with the Jarvan, very difficult to see a 5v5 that a Kingzone could take.
Yeah, it's very true. I do like that Jarvan pickup. Definitely one of the stronger picks in the jungle. You don't have too many options left over. The Camille, the Kha'Zix, the Sejuani taken away, so they will just pick that up. And now we do get to get the support pick last for KSV. Let's see what KZ wants to pick up. You were talking about Aaron. Looks like we may be seeing Rascal on that in the top lane. We'll be locked in right now.
Some sort of matchup against Nara, which is not ideal for Aaron, but given he has so many winning matchups, a matchup where he's, 30-70 is not necessarily going to be too much of a headache, can still stick in lane forever with his passive and be able to stay very competitive against the Nara, but it will be a pushing advantage for Nara in the top side. We see here Prey really heavily considering the Xayah that's really seen very little priority. Most analysts not talking about Xayah in this meta, especially with Rakan deprioritized. It's going to be Xayah and Tahm Kench at the top. You're looking for a support for the Varus. Very simply, plugging in the Braum after the Taric is banned. Pure team fight excellence for the side of KSV, but also some good pressure lanes as well. This is going to be a really competitive one. The wild card, though, is Peanut on the Nidalee. Nidalee's not necessarily on a true timer, but it's pretty close to that. It is about how much work you can get done early to get that mid-game snowball going. Peanut on the Nidalee. Didn't think I'd see it here today, but I'm so ecstatic for it.
It's a good surprise for us here to go into game number 1, into day number 1 of LCK 2018. Unfortunately for you bloodthirsty supports out there, not really going to be as surprising or exciting for you, but you can look towards the other lanes. The Tahm Kench versus Braum matchup, not one of my favorites, Papa.
To me, it's jungle mid, because Ryze with the instant snare and Jarvan with the long-range engage, holding down BDDs, allowing Ryze a bit of breathing room to get those frequent backs, get that tier, get that catalyst, get going. That is going to be the job for Ambition, whereas Peanut, Battle Ward was invented for Peanut's Nidalee. He's going to want to get into the enemy jungle and make Ambition accountable for every camp he tries to pick up.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes into day number 1 knowing Peanut's personality and his playstyle, just trying to get right in the face of Samsung. He wants revenge for his previous team of SKT, but also for King's own Dragon X, who did get taken out by former Samsung here in KSV. So you guys did take one last look at the compositions here. Curious to see what Kive can do on that Gnar. Is he going to have some carry potential with his ultimates? He did become one of these bigger picks in the top lane, one of these bigger players that everybody is talking about. But guys, it looks like we are just about ready to jump into the game. And right as I said that, we do have a pause. So even though we have this nice countdown timer, not going to be as hype as it should have been, Papa.
Come on, Brendan, you didn't need to tell the fans at home about the pause so early. But we guys also discuss the runes, because of course runes were forged on this patch, so we're going to have a lot to talk about runes, we're going to have a lot to talk about team comps. There's high-level storylines like the LCK champions versus the world champions. Bit of bated breath here. This is new for me. I guess the SPO TV issues will never succeed completely.
Yeah, starting off day 1 with the pause issue. Pretty standard, solid SPO TV special.
I mean, you're the veteran here. You're going to have to get me indoctrinated into the SPO TV way.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about Pokemon if you really want to, but I'd rather not, Papa. I feel like we've kind of moved on from those times. Has been an entire year. But it is a skin issue. We did just get the update, so we'll see if we get that on screen for you guys a little bit later.
First day of the season. Hopefully just a couple of kinks to work out before we can get into the game. I saw a couple of the keystones. We'll have them hopefully on the screen for you guys a little bit later. Phase Rush on the Cassiopeia, just to have that extra slow resistance, stop the Braum Q from slowing her down. That was the most interesting one I noted. Both supports, they know their roles. They're both taking Guardian here. No Aftershock Alistair. No Unsealed Spellbook Alistair, which after yesterday's performance from Ming, something we're going to have to be a little bit rueful about. So just both Guardian on Tahm Kench and the Braum. I want the game just to talk for itself. Will very shortly, Valdez.
Yeah. Usually the skin issues get resolved
with a reload or two.
Pretty easily. It doesn't usually take that long, guys. So you guys can do a little bit of meditating here with Crown. Maybe wear some bling just like him.
Now he's wearing bling, but interestingly, he has a ring around his neck, but not his World Championship ring.
What could it mean, Papa?
I asked CoreJJ in the back during makeup, do any of the players play with their Samsung Galaxy Worlds ring? He said no, which made me very sad.
Yeah.
I guess a little bit too much bling, perhaps.
It was a very fast no. I think wearing a ring that's that heavy would be kind of hard to play.
But if you hyper carry, if you carry with that ring on, you are quite a beast. So
pause skin.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. It's a new version here for you guys who are, it's a new year, 2018. It's not issue anymore. It's skins. Pause skin here.
Pause is the issue, and skin is the reason here. As you can see that King's Own Dragon X patch on what looks like a makeshift Longzhu shirt. Of course, the name came out very late, so we might have a uniform update during the season. But for now,
Yeah.
it's just Kingzone and Gorilla smiling sweetly. Of course, early at the start of the season, we wondered, would Longzhu stay together? Of course, they got into that perennial, it seems like year on year for these X-Rocks Tigers guy situation where we wondered, would they still stay together? But the team staying together under the new banner of Kingzone Dragon X.
Yeah, slowly coming back together, getting the band back together. The thing that surprised me about the Dragon X logo is that they asked us to call them Kingzone, but the logo is a dragon on top of an X, which is Dragon X, right? So why didn't we call them Dragon X instead of Kingzone?
Look, I accept...
I don't really understand the reasoning behind this, Papa.
I accept the decision just because Kingzone flows off the tongue just a little bit more. Kingzone, KZ. It is amusing they went from LZ to KZ, just one letter change.
Yeah.
On
adding
the
some more
side.
Ks to the LCK.
That's such a weird thing. We have 4 teams that start with the letter K. We have Kingzone, Kongdu Monster, KT Rollster. That's already 3. And KSV, of course, their opponents today. So a lot of K teams going on over there.
Yeah, we are in Korea.
That's
the
true.
K nation. So there you go. It does make sense. They are just picking their champions once again.
Yeah, we have the production monitor here showing us
through.
they're going to speed through pick and ban again. And while you guys watch Ruler adjusting himself, MVP of World Finals there in Ruler, hopefully very soon we'll be able to get into the action for what should be an epic season. The sort of season where in an interview I gave KT the slight nod in terms of favorites, but there are teams coming up like Afrika and BBQ both reinvigorating their rosters and potentially having a lot to show. You have SKT is for once a wild card, you know, the perennial top 2 team. Okay, Kep Faker, Bang & Wolf still in the bot lane. Other positions a bit of a question mark. Just their synergy and how they will take a evolving meta. Also a bit of a question mark for SKT. Now, SKT usually triumphantly answer the question marks with results, and that may still be what happens here in spring 2018. But questions for them and just optimism for so many squads here means it could be our most competitive season yet.
It definitely feels that way. I think there are a lot of teams that you mentioned, like Afrika and BBQ, that are real wild cards, right? They're not guys like MVP and LCK Spring where they're like, okay, they just barely made it, but it seems like they're an obvious step down. Now it's like, yeah, Afrika definitely could take games off of these teams, and even keep hype, and he got to be like be up.
Cat still in the rim. That are reformed. We are going to be on 18 being in. Wearing a stopwatch. We don't have the answer to that yet, Brendan.
Well, I would I think 100%.
Yeah, he's on rise. He's definitely running a stopwatch.
Not these two. KSV versus KZ in your first game of the 2018 LCK. Match number 1 for the 2018 LCK Spring has begun. KZ is on blue side, KSV on red. And the match has started. Papa, it's nice to have you next to me. We have a little bit of casting history. We did WCG, what was that, 2013?
13.
Yeah. We did a very fantastic FIFA broadcast. I didn't do much talking. You did most of the talking because I knew nothing about soccer or football, if you will.
Yeah, I signed up for FIFA. I came to you and I said, Valdez, can you shout goal in the famous Spanish Costa manner?
Yeah.
You said yes, and it was a match made in heaven from there.
That's basically all I did. I mean, I am half Cuban.
You did not put a foot wrong in that broadcast.
That's all I did. I did my job well, and I'm proud to say I did. But we're here now, League of Legends 2018. How far we have come, and how far Peanuts and Rascal have come to invade into the enemy's jungle, not laying off even to start off the game.
Yeah, they've been spotting a couple of wards here. They had a ward in proximity. It's going to be a reset on the red buff here. We could start here with one of those yakety sax moments where no jungler has a single camp for multiple minutes. But that does isolate the mid lane, and BDD pretty happy to have some free time while the Peanut is battle warding, just wail away on the rise.
Ambition, he gives up on the red. He starts the Raptors, leashes them because he wants to go back to the red. So here he comes. Might be a fight for the smite, but actually just damaging Peanut. He's now down to half health. Ambition at full. BDD invading, hitting level 2 with his push, with the advantage he had in the mid lane with Cassiopeia over Ryze.
Yeah, the theory here is because you have the level 1 advantage in mid lane, you will always get assistance first. No way for Ryze to leave that lane at the start. Ryze does push out and walk over. Kills the blasting plant. We could get 3v3 action.
Yeah, look at this. Putting out a bit of damage, trying to cycle that Ryze onto BDD. So much damage. In comes Crown. He flashes away, but down he goes. BDD gets over the wall, hitting that first blood. Peanut will burn his flash too, but that is a hefty amount of gold already for Kingzone.
And that was just Kingzone knowing where they were strong. They had Peanut happy to invade, and they had Cassiopeia, who would always have the first level 2 ping. Cassio came first. They tried to 2v2. Nothing doing for Crown. He's now going to miss some minions, you'd imagine, even though the pushing power at level 3 is not massive for the Cassiopeia. The junglers are both significantly behind, although Peanut has enough to actually upgrade his pot here into this Hunter's Potion to be able to get into the jungle.
Take another look at this replay here. You can see Crown doing his best. He's only level 2, so he can't get the full cycle off, but just in general, Cassiopeia, once she hits her poison, is going to do more damage with the help of Peanut.
And that's kind of the two-part plan there for the side of Kingzone is you will have first rotation from the Cassio, and Ryze, without all 3 of his abilities, cannot put out any sort of machine gun shenanigans. He's pretty useless outside of the instant snare, and Jarvan only had a flag, no flag and drag. For Kingzone, we're going to win in multiple different ways. That translates into a first blood in a very early tier for the Cassio.
Yeah, she is sitting pretty. BDD on the lips of many fans and analysts out there, just fans of League of Legends, saying that he may be the new star, superstar coming in. Unfortunately, didn't make it past quarterfinals in Worlds, but maybe this is his shot. You know, he's still very young and already having a good game number 1 here, Papa.
Yeah, his first international tournament, when he actually had to pull out the hard carry when he got ahead on the Syndra. Left a bit to be desired in that first game against Samsung Galaxy, but he's growing into his role. If you remember how good he was in the Kesper Cup, where his hard carry games on Azir led to many Azir bans just targeted at BDD, that you know there's still a lot about that player as Peanut continues his invade.
You can see how strong Zombie Ward is in that moment. The ward stays there for so long so that he can see the red being taken 2-3 minutes later after their initial invade. We're getting a trade here in the mid lane, going deep onto Crown. You can see just how low he is. Neither of them have it back. They're summoners, but Peanut taking a lot of damage up towards the Raptors, maybe getting a little bit too aggressive this time around. He goes down. Now BDD trying to go 1v2, gets Ambition low, needs to land a poison. He gets it onto Crown. The Q misses.
BDD actually goes through the controller, didn't have vision of the brush, could not DPS down Ambition or Crown, didn't feel confident to. Peanut completely misread the situation. No stopwatch this early in the game, and actually went down just tussling with Ambition. May have thought that BDD would come to help him rather than 1v1 in the mid lane. Synergy still needs to develop between those two, but it's a kill back to KSV that honestly shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, you were talking about that tussle in the jungle.
Now, I think Peanut's impression when he started the camp was that the Cassio who was pushing in would react first, but he doesn't have flash. BDD is not on the same wavelength. Ambition runs in. BDD doesn't consider going in for that last Twin Fang. Doesn't want to give a 1-for-1 in that scenario, and because there was a control ward, there would have been a guaranteed drop in DPS on either of the members as they walked back into lane. So end result, 1 free kill to KSV.
Hey, you were talking about the synergy. It is day number 1, match number 1 in this best of 3. I'm sure these guys will get on top of it in the future. Maybe this is Peanut, you know, being unleashed a little bit as well, just going a little bit too aggressive on that Nidalee against the Jarvan. He has his flag and drag now, was able to secure that kill. So taking a look at some runes, you can see what Rascal is running on Ornn. Pretty impressive.
Futures Market there, the Biscuiteer, he just wants to get through a tough lane. The Unsealed Spellbook and not being grasped is because he's in a melee versus range matchup. Doesn't think he's going to get a lot of grasp procs. Does mean that, of course, he can teleport plenty of times once he gets there. He has Ignite for laning phase, just if Peanut comes to gank top lane through the ultimate, say, at level 6. And just for lane control in general, having Ignite makes people second-guess things like turret dives, so he's pretty happy in this scenario.
Yeah, he also has the minion desynthesizer, I think it's called. The one that kills the minion and it gives you extra damage against. It gives you a little bit of a push. We haven't been too impressed by that, but we've been seeing some of these top laners take it, perhaps for some extra pushing power. We saw Vlad taking it over in LPL the other day.
We haven't been watching the bot lane at all, but we should talk about the fact that it is the Quadra Relic Shield start by both AD carries and supports. I'm sure a lot of people at home, especially if they haven't been following the Korean scene, are thinking, why AD carries picking up support items? How is this happening again? But the big takeaway is you think back to last time we saw competitive league, as a nice little trade happens here in Prey and Ruler, is that when it was the All-Star meta, it was about poke AD carries. It was all about double comet, some summoner area, and just poking people down. You couldn't run hyper carries or tank supports because you couldn't even lane against them. I'll hold the point for now, as Peanut considering his options in top.
Okay, going to look to land this Ornn ultimate, knocks him up, in comes the spear, hops over Rascal into the flash, but now he is ignited and knocked up by the Ornn. Down he will go. No hope for him, as Ambition was nowhere to be found, coming in a little bit too late to help out Cuvée.
And credit to Rascal, he was very on point with his skills. Difficult to hit Cuvée with Flash Up his mid lane.
Oh, there you go, getting hit in the face by that Cassiopeia ultimate. In comes Peanut, trying to Realm Warp away. Not sure if necessary, but he does get out safely anyway.
Yeah, Crown didn't have Stopwatch to go for the Stopwatch ultimate play there, so no ability for him to actually get out of jail free card as Ambition and Peanut once again tete-a-tete.
Peanut is just not letting up, man.
This is the battle war start. He actually got with the auto attack. Oh, Ambition will be tilted about that one.
Not a feel-good moment for Ambition or KSV in that small play, but nice bit of gold going over to Peanut. He was almost out of mana, and he's still going in there challenging Ambition.
So just to finish the point on the bot lane, it was, I believe, Kramer once again. He was the first person to do a Relic Shield and Pro Play on Twitch. Relic Shield, Callista, and of course all these hyper carries. The Overheal rune to actually get extra shielding on top, Janna style, over when you're maximum health. So basically, you enter lane here, you have sustain coming from the auto attacks for both members with the double Relic Shield, and you just have so much sustain that the poke is out and the hyper carries are in, Valdez.
Yeah. You can see up here just a replay, Rascal landing everything. Already, Cuvée had used his flash, so a pretty easy E for the knockup.
And the flexibility of running Unsealed Spellbook on so many champions. Alistair in the bot lane, like we said, in the LPL yesterday, today, with Rascal on top, is you can take Ignite, and suddenly, those sort of ganks, which feel almost futile when you're running traditional summoners, can actually work if you're able to take the Ignite for laning phase and getting a kill in a lane that was left up. KSV could have banned Ornn in both rounds of the draft. We're happy to take the Gnar into Ornn matchup to have lane priority. It actually makes them pay in that scenario.
It's kind of interesting to see the evolution of Ornn. Everybody talks about how he has pretty much no counters, but now he can take Ignite in the top lane, and considering how much CC he has, if there's any DPS from the jungle, you're in danger of being ganked at any time and dying against this tank in the top lane. So see if some nerfs come out in the future, Unsealed Spellbook, or perhaps Ornn.
I think both.
Right now he's pretty strong.
I think both. Valdez is a pretty confident bet when it comes to Ornn and also the Unsealed Spellbook rune. Maybe looking at the Summoner's CDR. Obviously the flexibility is the main reason you take the rune, but the CDR kind of pushes it over the edge. Ornn just doesn't have bad matchups. He gets the teleport advantage because he doesn't have to back as often, can just incrementally pick up cloth armors aplenty in matchups against the Gnar. And then he's an ultimate initiator with his ult as well. So he has everything going for him, and that means it's so hard to look past him. It was a surprise to see him in the second round of picks, let alone his first pick in this game.
Yeah, you were talking about all that cloth armor. It doesn't only help against Cuvée, but the ganks from Jarvan, who tries to come in, only completing his jungle item. Now, Rascal is pretty low. In comes the flag and drag into the Cataclysm, knocked up by the Gnar, and, well, I'm sorry, buddy, that's just way too much CC. Down goes Rascal. A nice follow-up gank there by Ambition.
Yeah, very nice timing. Rascal's flash was about 15 seconds away, so even had the correct timing through the Summoner Spell CDR of the Unsealed Spellbook. That was 5 seconds later. If the calculation was off, he would have been able to flash away. So nice timing there. Good synergy between Ambition and Cuvée.
Here we go again. These guys with the non-stop action landing that
Missed the cube.
The flash over the cube, but BDD is too low. Tom Kentz comes in, but he might be a little bit too late. Ignite comes in. Peanut for the flash, but the shield comes in, and then comes Ambition. Peanut will be saved, but Crown with the last-second shield saves his own life and gets away with the kill.
Crown's dance moves were insane in that play, Valdez. He should have died multiple different times. The one Q missing from Cassiopeia really stopped BDD, even with Flash not able to get through it. Bot lane Prey doing some damage to Ruler. CoreJJ's here.
Oh boy, is he gonna get knocked up? There's the Feather Storm, but forces the ult out, does CoreJJ. Nicely done.
Spring season MVP was Crown. A lot of people forget that when they remember his struggles in summer. We're back in spring season, and maybe the new king of spring after Dade is Crown, because he was so on point with the Rise. Can't wait for them to roll the replay. Even Nidalee coming in with a 200 health Rise to kill. Couldn't pull it off. Going to see the replay here. So BDD's second time in a row that he actually hits the ultimate. So you might think, okay, finger waggle at Crown at the start here. That's a lot of damage in, but missing the Q there. Flashes away from Rise's Q, falls low. No way tanking the minion wave, and the damage going to get out. So Crown flashes away from the Q, gets through, and then Nidalee for the second flash here. Can't make it out. In fact, would have been the second death for Peanut if not for Gorilla with the W there. So that was a sick series of plays from Crown in particular.
It's pretty unbelievable to see what a guy like Crown can do with absolute mastery on a champion. And I'm sure he's happy that Rise has re-entered the meta in full force. Wouldn't be surprised to see him on this champion pretty often. Maybe we'll see a ban on it in game number 2. Things to think about. Ambition over here sitting at 2-0. Already picked up a cowl here. Got a nice bit of magic resist after that jungle item. Is going to begin the dragon. Has Crown and CoreJJ to help him out. And no vision over here. Should be a free Inferno for KSV.
Really big first purchase for Ruler. All the action was happening away from the bot lane. And being able to rush a Ginsu Rageblade without there being any downside to it. Staying equal in CS, going for this item that has a very expensive recipe. You buy a blasting wand. It never feels good to be building that Ginsu Rageblade. There being action everywhere except bot also suits KSV as well. So in terms of itemization and also just the flow with the Infernal Drake coming in, everything working for KSV.
Looking pretty good so far. This is a top lane that we actually can look at and have a bit of action, especially with the 2 aggressive junglers we have on the map. We'll see if Rascal gets himself in some more trouble a little bit later on. We're finally getting a look down here in the bottom lane. Not too much action with the 4 relic shields. Even a bit of trading is just going to be trading shields with that over here.
In a standing DPS fight, because the Rageblade is being complete, Prey has, that building block item at the moment in the Essence Reaver. It will be actually advantage Ruler in these trades, so that's why being zoned off the bot lane wave. Also, both control wards for KSV are down on the bot side, so they control the bot side river as well. They're even expanding their vision to the top side. Against Nidalee, you usually see a situation where there's a big river vision advantage for the Nidalee team because of that ability to battle ward. Now Nidalee has to stay in her own jungle. The hope of a battle ward is gone for now because they're losing the 2v2. They're losing the skirmishes that you pick Nidalee to win.
I think the top number is time spent near a lane.
Jungle proximity, I believe it is.
Jungle proximity, and then the bottom is obviously
successful
gank.
ganks.
Oh boy, look at Prey getting low. Is going to flash that ultimate, but in comes Peanut. There's the first stopwatch we've seen. Ornn, though, teleporting in is going to be enough damage to take out Ruler. Can they pick up another kill, though? Getting that nice bit of damage with the Brittle from Rascal on the Ornn. So much coming out here, and too many members of KZ means that a second member of KSV will go down. Kive is pushing the top lane. We'll see if he can get that turret.
Yeah, not a moment too soon, even a feel-good moment for KZ. They needed that there King Zone as KSV was winning in every area of the map. The price will be pretty significant. They lose first turret in the top. They will also lose eventually the Rift Herald as it'll be taken down. But just extending the laning phase was what KSV wanted. So ending a laning phase somewhere from a King Zone perspective means a longer lane, means somewhere that Nidalee can look to return to, means they can dart out of lane, put down some aggressive vision if you're Gorilla, and have a side to play around. 50-50 vision is what King Zone was dreading. So actually being able to open up vision somewhere, it's a pretty severe cost, but the alternative was probably an inevitable loss for the side of King Zone.
Yeah, it's good to see them being active. We're going to take a look at the replay. Prey just getting way too low to start it off. Not really a factor in this fight.
You see why Braum was quite a happy choice here. Can just interrupt the ultimate there from the Eoin. Didn't matter in the end. They had 4 members. They were able to chase him down, but that interaction will be important when it comes to initiation in future fights. CoreJJ extended going down, but when it comes to map objectives, KSV still came out ahead.
Yeah. Prey wasn't the one doing too much damage, but he did bait them in, so nicely done there, at least. BDD sitting at 1-1, as is the Rise. Rise finishing his Abyssal Mask, not going to be taking too much damage from that Cassiopeia a little bit later on. It's kind of crazy where Rise can get in the later game, that sustained DPS, but also the tankiness is going to be pretty out of control. But here we go. Rascal trying to knock up Crown. It is going to be enough to get that knock-up. Once they get the second one,
everything.
There comes BDD. And we do have the phase rush coming in, but already is going to be taken out before that does fully channel. So nice little gank there, if you will, by BDD.
And nice mechanics from Rascal. The big question mark for this roster was, of course, Khan not being available for the first set after his behavioral transgressions, and Rascal coming in on Eoin. He's been very on point, both in the gank top side and now the gank bot side. So it's not going to necessarily be the substitute top laner that's holding back Kingzone in the early game, as Prey looking to get some chip damage on the mid lane turret.
Yeah. I do agree with you. I feel like Rascal is playing quite a game, but at the same time, to be totally honest, Eoin is not the hardest champion in the game.
There's
but
still skill shots.
Yeah, there are. It's, you know, you send forward your Q in a straight line with the guy right in front of you, and you land it, and you don't miss your E because you run straight into that pillar. But either way, he's not making nervous mistakes, which I like. He's fulfilling his role, as you were talking about, and he's just playing a solid game, which is quite nice. By the way, did you notice that the electrocute on Peanut is massive? I don't know what's going on with that.
Oh, you have it on your monitor. I don't actually have the keystones on my monitor, but it's pretty comical there. It's some Harry Potter-sized lightning bolt.
Yeah, Mission's got it too. Aerie, she grew up. She evolved into a new Pokemon there, it looks like, for Kive. Kind of funny.
But as you promised, no Pokemon. And here we are.
I know, I couldn't help it. I had to bring it in there. You know, Aerie. We don't have any Callista or Alistar coming in, but hold the phone, BDD in a bit of trouble, but the teleport comes in, may flip the tables here. Who will they go for? Rascal looking to perform once again. Looks like they are going to go on to Kive, who just hops on over and then flashes away and makes his way away from that gank.
Pretty significant investment, and Crown will get free farm and also the ability to push in on the top side here. So a flash given up for map pressure advantage to KSV. But at least KZ know what they have to do. Kingzone know they have to continue to playmate. They do not want them to opt into late game fights, as KSV want to get that Demolish proc off. Not able to yet.
Yeah, not quite. You can see the poke that comes out of not just Ruler, but also CoreJJ. Always can slow down to help the Varus out. And Xayah, she only has a couple of feathers that she can throw forward, and that's about it. So Varus and Braum obviously going to get the better of that poking advantage. Another start on the Dragon here for KSV. This time it is going to be a Mountain Drake. In comes Peanut, though. He's not going to let this one go, and there's the steal. Peanut making his presence well known on his new team, saying, hey, no, that's my dragon.
And smite mechanics was something Peanut were famous for. We can't forget his Graves flash over the Ash Arrow into Baron Steel last year on SKT. So that at least staves the bleeding off a little bit for the side of Kingzone. They didn't have a teleport on Rascal. That's why they felt comfortable, KSV, to start it up. But Drake goes over. Rift Herald using the bot side means another turret rolls in for KSV. And again, narrowing the map that Kingzone have easy access to, narrows the places that Peanut can go safely. Going for a DPS build, no Rod of Ages here. You will also notice another one of the eccentricities of the 8.1 itemization is the Frostfang purchase, because it does not disable on monster minions, only on those lane minions. You are able to farm the jungle, then every gank pick up all those quest procs and get the quest pretty early. So it means extra gold income for the AP junglers that were largely out of the meta in 2017. And it just means that you're able to stay more on gold parity with your lanes, whether you're ganking or farming.
Yeah, we see it a lot, not just on those AP junglers, but, you know, Vlad and Echo, guys that want to get in close they will build the full item and use that slow to get on top of you. We have a bit of a lull here. The Baron is up. That Mountain Drake is going to help out King's Zone if they do want to rush that down. They also have Cassiopeia, another thing to think about. They can easily burn down the Baron if they get a couple of picks on top of KSV.
Notice the itemization adaptation here. Not going to be an overshield early for BDD. He's gone for the Void Staff. Just realizes he's not going to be able to push damage onto the back line. Even his opponent mid laner has, of course, gone for the now standard build of into very early magic resist for Crown. So a lot of tanky targets and take down. No ability to actually get to Ruler in the back line.
Notice an adaptive helm on the jungle Ambition and Cube as well. They just do not want to get hit by the Cassiopeia or the Nidalee. I mean, it's going to be a lot of repeated spells that come out from those two. So another nice couple of pickups there. Definitely treating Cassiopeia as a big threat in this game. Opens the door for Prey to do a nice bit of damage. They don't have too much armor stacked up just yet in this game.
But because it's more of a 3-item spike for the Xayah in particular, you get the magic resist now, and you just try and get a big enough advantage that the armor can kind of be a luxury later because you're so well suited against BDD. Against Peanut, even most of Rascal's damage will be magic damage related, so you feel really powerful as Ambition, having the adaptive helm, the ability to ult whoever you want and not have to worry about damage. Cube has the damage on top of his own adaptive helm because he has the Black Cleaver so early. So itemization-wise, definitely give the advantage to KSV compositionally as well. King's Zone can make very innovative plays. They still have the 3-man synergy of Peanut, Prey, and Gorilla from all those Creative Rocks Tigers plays in 2016. They're going to have to look for some more steals. They're going to need to be more opportunistic because KSV, they just want to put down control wards, keep farming. They feel like they're on course for an inevitable victory later.
Next dragon up is going to be another Mountain Drake. So a big pickup it would be for King's Zone. No doubt KSV want to deny that from coming in. Oh, Prey actually got out of that, and CoreJJ blows his ultimate. Kind of awkward there. Bit of invulnerability you have at the end of your recall.
Yeah, misread on the back timer there. That's first stage jitters right there, we'll say, from CoreJJ, but it's not around Baron, it's not with the Drake spawning, so there isn't really a window to abuse the cooldown being down for the next 60 seconds or so, so not a big cost there for the gaff from the side of CoreJJ.
What did you call it? The gaff?
A gaff. That's a
gaff.
British term for a mistake.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe I'll add that to my vocabulary, a gaff.
Watching KSV just try to defend where possible. They're seeing where Peanut is setting up, and that side of the jungle has defensive control wards. Not too worried about the potential for any picks, and Peanut's build certainly hasn't come together. Lich Bane is still whiles away for him here.
Yeah, they're getting a nice bit of damage down, or rather wards down. But it's all being cleared out immediately by KSV. So far looking, in the mid-game at least, like an even game at this. We do have 1 minute and 20 until this Mountain Drake is spawned. But for right now, it is really just a fight for vision. King's Zone was able to get that top turret, which does open up that top side of the map. You can see there are a couple of wards inside near there as well, which will help with going for that Baron if they ever get an opportunity to.
King's Zone normally need multiple members to actually contest vision. You normally need Tom Kench with a Nidalee, otherwise Nidalee can of course be popped very squishy with this build, whereas KSV have 4 tanks and a Varus, so much easier for them to put down and contest vision. More of a multi-step process means it's still possible for King's Zone to find vision advantages, just a little bit less trivial for them to do so because they need that buddy system to make it work.
Okay, well this is one opportunity they can go for. Trying to get on top of Crown here. He actually just walks out of that phase rush, or the Realm Warp. Getting my runes mixed up. Getting a nice bit of damage down onto Peanut, who just walks away. But it looked like the Tom Kench never made it up into the top lane. Probably was interrupted somehow in the river.
Seeing KSV keep pushing relentlessly in mid lane. Set up the cross map. They know that Rise can't get to mid lane anytime soon. Doesn't have teleport, of course. Doesn't have Realm Warp either. That's why we're going to see an attempt at a rotation here. They're actually jumping onto the Mountain Drake just spawning, but KSV will at least put multiple members around Baron, and that means that Peanut can't join them on the bot side of the map.
He You can see Peanut's a bit low, not just on health, but mana. And, okay, trying to get on top of Prey here, but they do lock down Crown, who is forced to burn his flash to get away. But as you did mention, they're taking away that Mountain Drake of bigger importance at this moment in time. But as I do say that, Peanut might get in here in time.
2 for 2.
Walks on in. They're going to block him into the wall, and down he does go. Misses the smite. And so Peanut not able to make it happen this time around. That's going to be the Mountain Drake at least here for KSV.
Nard the Drake to death there. DeCuve doesn't have that ability now, and of course is exhausted as well. First movement to the Drake was Kingzone's, and they had to back away because KSV had those members around Baron, like we mentioned. So KSV just walked up, down the front door, took down that objective, and only a single Mountain Drake to speak of. A small gold lead here, but because of the compositional advantage in team fights for KSV, nothing to worry about for the side of KSV.
Yeah, they're sitting pretty. You know, like the old Samsung would just kind of sit and wait and farm up. They would get behind, but they would always play for that later game. The hyper carries back in that meta. It's kind of what we're seeing here. You know, Ruler just farming up. Rise getting into that later game. Already on 3 items here. Picking up that Seraph's Embrace now. Going to be even harder to kill. Gnar, he's going to be doing his job, adding a little bit more armor this time around, and so that means that Xayah going to be doing a lot less damage to him if he is in the front line. Ooh.
Not the steal he wanted, but at least getting a bit of vision there is Peanut. And to me, the Nidalee pick, this is the part of the game where you look at it and you think, okay, with the magic resist stacking we knew about, with the team comp of 4 tanks, how will the Nidalee ever do relevant damage? Even proccing the Lichbane is difficult. Won't be getting into Cougar form with any reliability. And it feels kind of like quasi-Ardent Sensor meta here. Feels like comfort for Ruler in particular. There's going to be 4 beefy CC tanks. And for him to free auto in, and he's got the on-hit build, 3 items strong, very, very powerful. Buffs up his allies' damage with things like the Wit's End. It's looking so comfortable for KSV, and that's why they're just happy to extend the game, and we see Kingzone trying to fish for things, but they just get more and more unlikely as the minutes tick on.
You were talking about Nidalee's damage, and she landed an almost max-range spear onto Crown, and he just had his shields taken away, and that was it. So you're going to expect some more of that as the game continues on, as Rise gets even stronger. And not too impressive so far out of this Nidalee. Had some early game shenanigans, but that's about it. Has a nice bit of healing, I suppose, with that extra AP, but kind of a support jungler at this point.
There's not as many ways for Kingzone to play the map either because of the semi-global there for Rise. They can play 3 lanes more cleanly than Kingzone can. They're 1 teleport down in that particular regard. So game has hit a stalemate, but you can see KSV keep thinking about their options. They want to get some deep vision down for the Gnar to come around, and although Peanut will push up, it's just contest vision, no more.
Yeah, it's a bit of chip damage. You can see the Lick actually missing Ambition, but look at that. Ambition is out, and Crown, he gets caught over there. No way to get out of this one. 4-on-1, and even Prey was coming over, so Crown getting caught. This could definitely open up the map here for Kingzone.
They didn't have the deep visions. They didn't see the rest of Kingzone was pincering Crown away. KSV's trying to play cute, but no ability to actually evacuate Crown. No Zhonya's completed at this point in the game, either for Zhonya's part. I think it's time for Kingzone to try to rush down this Baron.
They're going to go for it. Or they're at least going to stick around the Baron, deny as much vision as possible, maybe bait Ambition in. Nice control ward there by KSV. Keeps the front line vision alive, but it is going to be taken out now by Gorilla, and immediately it starts. Double control ward in the pit. They are going to come off of that Baron, try to go for a pick. They do have the Ornn ultimate back, but it is blocked by CoreJJ, but he's slowed by the poison. Featherstorm coming in, not going to lock anyone down. You can notice the Varus ultimate keeping everybody from Kingzone back. Here comes Kyuve, he's about to go Gnar form. Will he come on out? Not able to get any picks here. We'll just throw some stones. That's about it.
It's the problem for Kingzone is the only force they have is the ultimate that's so easily answered by Braum when Unbreakable is up. So even in a 5v4 scenario, KSV made the percentage play. They saw that Peanut had no mana. They didn't think they would start the Baron. They were waiting for the turn. The turn was failed, and you do the math, Valdez. They went down 4v5, and yet they still took a turret to nothing for the side of Kingzone.
Very patient play. They didn't get out of hand. They didn't rush into the Baron pit. Just baited out a bunch of abilities and blocked them with their Braum and all their shields.
I mean, at this level of play, you just look at the enemy team and you're like, how fast do they do Baron? Can they turn? In terms of the speed, pretty quickly.
Yeah, they can. They do have that Cassiopeia. The ult is going to hit Ambition in the front, who is getting quite low. They take him down. That's going to be a big pick. Xayah able to get the pick. Peanut will take that Baron. Kive lands a nice ultimate onto 4. Onto low members of Kingzone. Another blocked or an ultimate. Crown, though, forced to flash away. Can they get any more of these members? Peanut might go down on the right. Down he goes. Gorilla now trying to get away with BDD. They want to get these 2 kills. The members that have the Baron, they are going to get BDD. And Gorilla on the run, not looking lucky for him tonight. As a couple more damage that comes out from these 2 members will do it. Triple kill for Gnar, and KSV is going to ace Kingzone after they take the Baron.
Kingzone did the only thing they could. They saw Varus was out of position. They said, this is the only time we'll actually be able to take the Baron. It won't be a 5v5. Unfortunately, they kill the Jarvan. They get the advantage. They get the buff, but it doesn't count for anything, Valdez, because the cleanup from KSV's teamfight comp was immense. We see the replay here. Note that Varus is coming from base. He cannot get there. They take out Ambition first. You say, okay, it's a master stroke. Kingzone is back into the game, but they can take poke damage forever, KSV. They are so tanky, and they cannot get any damage onto ground. He's free hitting. Ruler shows up late. The tanks are still healthy, and if you got healthy tanks, Ruler will blow you away.
It's pretty unbelievable just what Crown can do as well. He flashed the poison of Cassiopeia, and after that, it was all just tail between your legs, trying to run away as fast as possible for KZ. They just wanted out of that fight, and well, your prediction, Papa, is coming true. KSV's later game composition is beginning to smash Kingzone here. They were able to take an extra turret in the mid lane. Did not get the Baron, unfortunately, which keeps things a little bit closer for Kingzone. But KSV is still sitting pretty.
Does mean that multi-year win rate on Nidalee looking more and more likely not come to be here. No extension of that big winning run on Nidalee for Peanut as the game is currently poised. It's been well answered here as, well, they're looking for another opportunistic pick. They get Cuve.
Okay, nicely done by Rascal. He lands another ultimate onto Cuve. It doesn't matter how angry you get as Gnar, 1v4 is not going to happen. And so they do get another pick using that Tom Kentz very aggressively. But what can they do with it? It's just some kill gold. Maybe they can push the top lane, but that's about it at this point.
I mean, they're great picks from Kingzone, and it's the sort of thing you can point to KSV and say this is the 3rd to 4th time they've been caught unawares. So the map play here from KSV is left a bit to be desired, even if the scaling and team fight can certainly be cemented. First time Peanut's been in the enemy jungle for a long time here as they're trying to push up in the top side.
I thought he actually got that, but it was the gold from his Frostfang. Okay, trying to do a little bit of poking here with that 5v4 advantage. They got Rascal in the bush and no vision for KSV, but this time KSV respecting the vision. They have this control ward over here, will be taken out. But just time wasted for KZ in the jungle. They are able to get this mid lane pushed in though. Should be another mid turret. Here comes Ambition, will only pick up Rascal, but that's 5 members in the Cataclysm. And so a lot of damage coming out here. Prey in the back getting extremely low. Cuve coming in from the side. Ruler just totally left alone. And KZ getting a little bit too aggressive. That's going to be another ace. 5 members of Kingzone getting cleaned up by KSV.
Might be the end of the game as well. They can move the minion wave closer here to have a couple of minions. You were talking about Crown's bling in the player shots. The bling was all on Ambition, barring 5 members then going golden with the stopwatch. It's going to be game 1 to KSV. It's not about Rascal, it's about how smart KSV drafted. The Nidalee came back for Kingzone, it came back for Peanut. It left something to be desired. 1-0 KSV.
Nicely done. That solid former Samsung, now KSV. Team play and later game fighting. That later game composition really worked out for them in the end. Very solid game for them. Coming out strong.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, after a victorious game 1 for KSV Esports. Not to the surprise of many, I imagine. That draft was quite polarizing. Guys, what did you think of the team composition? Jesper, you start.
I really like the team compositions. I think that KSV, they had a nice idea about them wanting to control the mid game to late game. And I think that it worked out really well considering the way that they were playing.
Okay. Aaron, what did you feel about that game? Did you feel burned by the massive multi?
No, not at all. I really didn't like the composition brought out by Kingzone Dragon X.
There were some picks that I feel that they went for which were quite inoptimal, considering that I find BDD's selection of the Cassiopeia pick really confusing, because you have Malzahar and Azir open, which are absolutely fine with dealing with Ryze on their own, and in the case of Azir, can scale just as hard as Ryze can in his new form, so I did find that interesting that they went that route.
Unhappy with the Cassiopeia and the draft in general. Dara, what are your thoughts?
I'm feeling very similarly. I didn't like the Nidalee pickup. Well, I think it was okay. Not a great pick. More of a B tier pick, I think, in the jungle at this point. Patch 8.1.
I didn't like the Peanut for having comfort in his first game on a new team. I didn't like the Cassiopeia either. As Aaron said, you have that Zoe, Malzahar, Azir. All three of them were available, and they decided to go for Cassiopeia. Just meaningless, pointless to see it. I just don't like seeing that, especially when there's so much better picks to pick into that Ryze. And even just in general in the mid lane, even if you wanted to pick something blind, Azir, Zoe, Malzahar, all great blind picks, and they decided to go for the Cassiopeia. They didn't even go for that early jungle gank into the mid lane, which one would have assumed if you wanted to go for the Nidalee and Cassiopeia. For that synergy, you want to go for that level 3, level 4 gank in the mid lane, get her ahead early, because it's going to be pushing against you by the Ryze, having that early push power, which we actually did see. But then there was that almost failed invade towards the top side of KSV by Peanut, which really wasn't what I was expecting. Oh, you'd rather have seen him go for a lane and try and deal some direct damage rather than fighting in the jungle. Okay, we had a chat about the masteries, the runes, rather as they're called, and how we thought they were going to go that game. So, what did you guys think about that? Was it as expected? Did you see some different things? Jesper, I know you talked about something specific here.
Yes, I really liked that Rascal picked up the Dematerializer up in the top side. I think that when you pick up the Dematerializer on someone like Ornn, you get a lot of lane priority. Obviously, you can utilize the passive, which gives you permanent damage to minions. And with Ornn already being a very effective pusher, going up against Gnar, which isn't a favorable matchup for the Ornn, I think you gain so much power that then is something you can translate into the mid lane. You could have translated into the mid lane. We didn't see a lot of that top lane priority being used that way, but the idea was correct, and I really liked that they put priority on having that rune.
I think maybe the priority was shown by killing that fluffy little creature a few times. I really enjoyed that.
Well, Ornn died a little bit as well.
Ornn did die a few times as well.
It all evens out.
Aaron, what? So we've got a replay to analyze. We're going to go through that fight on the, I believe, at the bots T1, where maybe things don't go as planned for me. Shout, go now.
Cool, we'll go. So as we can see, the Ruler and Core JJ are really bullying out Prey there, and as you see, Prey's forcing to ultimate, so you end up with the Ornn teleporting in, and even though that the Call of the Forge God gets blocked off by the Unbreakable from Braum, you have Varus separated off, so he gets killed straight after his stopwatch, and that just leaves Core JJ in the dust after 4 members come in with when speed out gets it in Italy.
So clearly that didn't go to plan. What would you guys like to have seen differently? Dara, well, how would you have played that?
I think that they were a little bit out. I have to go for the side. Ruler was a little bit too out of position. He was a little over enthusiastic, I think, in that lane. He was caught out between the 2 walls there. So he was forced to go towards the tri-bush, which then Core JJ couldn't help him in that 3 versus 1 scenario. So to make it a 3 versus 2, he couldn't have stayed alive even a little bit longer than he actually did. So he did everything that he could have done, except for maybe heal. I'm not sure if his heal was actually available at that point or not, but he was, I think, out of position there, and there's nothing more that they could have really done positioning-wise to actually make better of that situation. They didn't even get the kill onto Prey, so they just gave up 2 kills for what ended up being, I think, a tower in the top side, and I'm not sure quite else what they got from that. They got a little bit of pressure.
And the Rift Herald.
They got Blue Buff and Rift Herald. Blue Buff, you can take it or leave that. Rift Herald, Yeah, sure, that's fine, but I think that they did screw up a little bit in that bot side in the positioning.
Okay. I mean, I think the blue buff might have helped what was going on in the mid lane. I mean, we had a bit of a lead. BDD wasn't having a great time. Yeah, wasn't great, was it? Sort of push the button a bit too hard. So we've gone over the team comps. We've gone over the runes. Has anyone got any further comments on the runes? Because minion dematerializer helped a bit. I mean, what do we think of these keystones? Have we seen anything super effective in game 1? Something you think will change in game 2?
There was quite a lot of popularity on the magical boots, which I did kind of expect. There are some situations where I think they're not always optimal, because there are some times where you are going to want to pick those up rather than wait like 10 minutes into the game so that you can. I was surprised that we had a little amount of zombie wards. We only had Peanut and Ambition, I believe, take the zombie ward simply because they were going through the electrocute tree, going through the domination tree and taking electrocute as their main keystone. And considering that when you do take the ward, it replaces it for 3 minutes, it does give you a lot of great vision control in the early game. And I believe we had a point about, speaking of vision control in the early game, especially on KSV's side.
Yes, KSV, they put a lot of priority on that vision. We didn't necessarily see it translate into objectives. They lost a Mountain Drake at one point in this game where Peanut went in and stole it, but they put a lot of priority on having that vision. And after all, they were a team composition that wanted to scale into the mid game, so they needed to do so. You could see at 18 minutes into the game, they had 9 pings, and it just ended up helping them so much having this priority on vision, because that meant that at one point where the first ban was taken, Kingstone Dragon X, they were in complete vision. They had no control of the jungle of KSV Esports, and therefore they ended up losing 5 members after taking that Baron.
It was a bit of a mess.
Just a tiny bit of a mess.
I don't think there's a better way to describe it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
It was a slaughter.
See differently. I would like to see some adaptations for game 2. I suppose we better get on with it. Jesper, what would you like to see out of Kingstone Dragon X to claw this one back from KSV?
Oh, I would love to see them take away the rise from Crown. I think Crown's rise was a huge problem in that game. He was able to split push quite efficiently with it, killed BDD a few times as well. And I think that you either want to force away the Braum, because Braum was so effective against Eoin, or you take away the Varus from Ruler. One of those two guys have to go. The CC was just too much for Kingstone Dragon X to handle.
Okay, Dara, in the same vein, not that I've prepared you, I'm going to put you on the spot. What does KSV have to do? Go on.
What KSV has to do? I think KSV
what does KSV have to do? Now that we've heard from Jesper, things the likely way in. What does KSV do?
I think KSV has to keep things pretty much the same they were. I don't think they did too much wrong. They could, of course, improve on a couple of things, like in the bot side with that replay that we showed. They can improve in the positioning, perhaps, maybe improve in their coordination. But I think that their team comp is perfectly fine the way it was. They might be able to go for something different to the rise in the mid lane, but the Gnar and Driver all good in the top side, and then Varus and Braum, I really like that in the bot side. So nothing wrong with their team comp to my mind, but I would like to see a better mid and a better jungler on the side of Kingstone Dragon X, because it just doesn't really fit into the current meta. It doesn't fit into the sort of style that they like to play, that we've seen them play before, especially with Peanut, who likes to go for these aggressive sort of tanky junglers like the Sejuani that I said in the pre-game. I like to see him pick up the Sejuani and preferably not have that band away on their side, and maybe pick up something like the Azir, the Zoe, the Malzahar, something that we keep repeating over and over, something that's far better than the Cassiopeia.
Okay, so hopefully it's Christmas and they can get the team comp they want out of this draft. I hope so. Aaron, closing thoughts. What do you want to see out of the next game from both teams?
So I would like to see Kingstone Dragon X to just dial back a little bit. There were points in that game where they were very overzealous, particularly at the Baron. They saw They saw Ruler out of position and instantly went for it, even though they weren't really in a position to try and take that Baron. And then especially at the mid lane where they were very overeager for that turret and ended up just getting clean aced and lost the game straight from there. So I'd like Longzhu to just Kingzone to collect themselves just a little bit and just play the game not slower, but just play with a little bit more of a level head and think through some of the moves that they're going to make, because it felt like that they were going for some desperate moves at some points in that game.
Do you think they got to check those power spikes, pick their times, punch once, punch hard?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds reasonable to me. It sounds like a Korean play style. We saw a little less discipline. Maybe the preseason's been a bit of fun. Okay, I think we're in game 2. We can go over to the casters to the pick that phase.
Every child in Valorant has heard the tale before about the cursed mummy boy who felt his heart no more. So sad and lorn, the helpless lad, Amumu was his name. He ventured out to find a friend and learn about his bane. For many years, young Amumu traveled through the lands, determined to make friends if only they would understand.
Still smiles on the face of the Longzhu members. KSV now, sorry, Kingzone now, already complicated.
I know.
Kingzone members still smiling, Peanut in particular, after a tough game, a loss on his famous Nidalee. Bans start to come in, and we saw a first pick on the Tom Kench in the previous game. First ban by KSV with them now on blue side.
Yeah, things are going to be mixed up quite a bit here. We'll see if Kingzone wants to do multiple 80 carry bans, as did KSV on the red side, or maybe it's just going to be that Kalista. You can see KSV does not want to allow Kog'Maw to enter the Rift, even though I was hyping up Ruler's Kog'Maw. Saw that a lot on solo queue, on Faker's stream at the highest level. He is wrecking face on that Kog'Maw, but not tonight for him.
And it's because they don't want to take it at first pick. That's too high for a Kog'Maw, but first rotation on the red side could definitely be Kog'Maw and a tank support very comfortably for the side of Kingzone, and Prey was the original man that Jugglemore was created for. He was the Kog'Maw in that famous Coup Tiger strategy. So building around the Kog'Maw is denied by KSV in this particular game, but we feel like we know what to expect in bot lane. A lot of things were overlooked in the ban, specifically in Game 1. You'll remember there was no Zoe picked or banned in Game 1. It's going to be banned on the blue side here.
That's incredible.
Azir is going to be banned away. Azir was also overlooked because the Cassiopeia matchup into the Rise was preferred. Didn't end up going the best way for the side of BDD. It's very interesting to see what's going to be pushed up. Ornn is available. We know it wasn't first picked in the last game. So it's excited to see, okay, Ezreal banned in the previous game. The only of the 3 carries that were banned that's left up this time. And it's just going to be a first pick.
Look at how confident the Samsung coach looked when that happened. He's like, yeah, okay. Oh no, that was actually the KZ coach. He was like, yeah, all right, we knew it. It's gonna come out. But then again, we have Gangplank left up as well. Another one of these big kleptomancy abusers. Not gonna pick it just yet. Gonna go for Sivir first.
I mean, you say that without the incredulous tone that I do. We do not see a lot of Sivir in Korea, so I'm excited to see what they're crafting around the Sivir utility, specifically the ultimate. In terms of laning phase, 2 AoE pushing abilities compared to Ezreal, just trying to fish for Q stacks and also for kleptomancy off of those Qs. So this is something different. We saw very little Sivir, especially from Prey. I believe Deft was the only person that played it last year. So different strategy coming from Kingzone. It does mean a turbo rise already with that Sivir speed up.
But they give away the Gangplank, and now you got 2 members on KSV that are going to have kleptomancy. Malzahar, another guy, he doesn't get banned out, got banned out a lot in LPL, but one of the top-tier mid laners as well. KSV's composition is looking insane, Papa.
But think about this. They hovered the Gangplank and then left it open. They're going for this counterpick. Very big counterpick in Korea is Spellbook top Vlad. Heavily expecting this to be Rascal playing the Vladimir. Vladimir runs over Gangplank in lane without an insane amount of assistance. You want to go for your Trinity Force as a fast build. You want to be able to avoid things like magic resist. This is Kingzone basically saying, hey, take the Gangplank. We have the counter pick. Now actually making it work, and also playing around Rascal being the one who has the impetus. Remember, when you're in a counter matchup, both sides know the story. Both sides know what's expected. A man with a lot less experience than Khan is going to have to try to engineer the downfall of Cuvée.
I'm sure he's been playing a lot of Vlad. Very popular pick nowadays. Look at that first ban by KZ. They take away the Janna, something that could counter not just the Sivir, but also the Rise and the Vlad. That's straight in your face. We're just going to roll you over composition. They're going to take away that big disengaged support. You see Kha'Zix is banned on the side of KSV once again. Neither side has picked their junglers just yet.
When it comes to solo queue, Rascal's second most played was the Vlad, largely against Gangplank and Gnar, trying to beat some of those top matchups. So that is why we see the Vladimir locked in. They're confident, even though he is the substitute who may not play many games after today. And I love that you point out the Janna ban. We were speaking in game one about how the meta was hyper carry and tank support. Then you start thinking, okay, if you assume tank support, what's always done well against low harassed tank supports was Janna. Even after all the Janna nerfs and the changes in the meta with Ardent Sensor gone, Janna lanes well against tanks and then counters them, but also counters the comp that Kingzone drafted themselves, because as you mentioned, everyone's rolling in there with Engage. So very smart ban from the side of Kingzone. And speaking of Engage, more is banned away with the Alistair ban as well.
Yeah, the Alistair taken away by KZ, and then Jarvan taken away by KSV. So won't be seeing Ambition on the Jarvan this time. They banned it away from him. Don't want to let KZ get that first pick in the phase 2. And, well, the Taric does come out, so nice bit of team fighting presence for KZ.
Look who's locked in here. It's not Haru playing this game, but it is the Rengar. Famous pick for Haru. Ambition has also played it in the past. KSV are in an awkward spot because you consider what Kingzone have drafted. They've drafted a god teamfight comp with everyone running as fast as possible with the Sivir ult, the Ghost that eventually will be put in via the Unsealed Spellbook to the Vladimir, and then Taric for invulnerability. And KSV have basically been forced to opt into teamfight as well, because you know what the icing on the cake, what the cherry on top is for the side of Kingzone? It's the Vladimir will also win the split push against Gangplank, so they're kind of winning in multiple ways. Jungle here was left wide open, but I'm telling you, Peanut has razor-sharp sights for one man and one man only. That's Ambition. Wants to try and take him down again. It's going to be a different type of battle warding, but it's going to be the Lee Sin trying to ruin Rengar's day.
I love Peanut's debut on this new team of Kingzone. He plays Nidalee first game, doesn't go well, but you know, he shows off his Nidalee once again, and then he goes straight back to his tried and true Lee Sin. Going to be all over Ambition, as you mentioned. A big presence from the jungle, trying to just win this early game for his team, get them ahead so they can have that late game strong team fight.
I mean, the Peanut fans are going to be in ecstasy, because you think back to summer, Peanut wasn't even the best Lee Sin on his team. Blank was the better Lee Sin player. He wasn't able to play the Nidalee, didn't fit into the game plan. Now he's played both. His confidence didn't pay off in the first game after a good start. Wants to stick the landing here. The famous Peanut Lee Sin that was on a win streak in spring oh so long ago on SKT is brought out, this time on his new team of Kingzone.
The Peanut fans are in ecstasy. I'm in ecstasy, man. I'm so happy to be back. This is so much fun here for LCK. Both of these teams have really put on a show so far. We're only jumping into game number 2 of this best of 3 series, guys. We are going to see double Kleptomancy on Cuvée and Ruler Ambition on the Rengar.
Very interesting one. We'll talk about it more in-game, but Prey on 80 carry Sivir, also running the Unsealed Spellbook. So we saw Alistair move to Ghost. I'm not sure what Prey will move to. Could be a Ghost as well.
You know who I saw doing this is I'm a Cutie Pie. No joke. We'll talk about it as we get into the game. But either way, guys, we are going to be jumping into game number 2 of Kingzone Dragon X versus KSV. Let's do it. Here we go, guys. Match number 1, game number 2 of our first best of 3 series between KZ and KSV. And you were talking about interesting runes that were picked up. They're not shown on the screen just yet, but I suppose you can talk about them anyway, Papa.
Yeah, Unsealed Spellbook ×3, BDD, Rascal, and Prey all running that spellbook that just won't close. It can't be sealed. It's the most open spellbook of all time, whereas
You
Bling
can read
Bling,
anything you want. It's not sealed forever.
it's Bling Bling on the side of KSV, double Kleptomancy, and then the spellbook also for Crown. Those are the interesting ones. I feel like Kingzone have a lot of answers and also posing questions that KSV compositionally don't have the answer to like they did in Game 1. So I'm really, really a big fan of the draft here from Kingzone. But even a winning draft in League of Legends, the hard counters just aren't quite as hard. They are a little bit more situational, so need to hit your win conditions. So while I like the setup, no guarantees that this will be a equalizing game for Kingzone.
Yeah, and what I was talking about before we went into the game is Cutie Pie playing Sivir with Unsealed Spellbook, and I don't know if this is the pro level strategy or if he was just trolling as he normally does, but he was taking teleport, and what he was doing was just pushing nonstop. He push, then he teleports to another lane, then he pushes, and if he's not done with his lane, he'll teleport back to his lane and then continue pushing that once he gets past this early game where he'll have heal just to make sure that he stays alive. But it gets pretty ridiculous because Sivir's presence all around the map gets very well felt by the enemy team and her teleport.
I mean, Sivir Vlad are both insane AoE wave clearers. The best of times, they are both very powerful in that regard. KSV, Malzahar, does decent with high AP numbers at pushing quickly, but otherwise, they can't match that tempo. And then if you can have multiple pushing lanes against a Rengar, if he doesn't have the space to look for ganks that can really hold him back, his top lane, Rascal's only level 2, probably doesn't have a point in W yet. Rengar for now. Ambition is going to focus on picking up the Krug camp before he considers his options in top.
Yeah, you'll notice the minion, I should have looked this up.
Dematerializer.
Minion dematerializers taken on both BDD and Prey. So just adding a little bit more potential lane push for both of those members. I was a little bit surprised to see Vlad not taking it. We saw that yesterday. I've seen it a bit in solo queue. Perhaps just one of those free-ass boots, Papa.
The free-ass boots are definitely a favorite. Shout out to Captain Flowers, who came up with that particular name for the free boots mastery. You'll notice in terms of starting items, Rascal is running the Spell Thief's Edge. Now, in terms of the early laning phase, because there's the penalty for killing minions, won't be getting too many procs. Even the Bandit's not going to stack it up fast, but you just rush the Twin Shadows effect. You just rush into the Frost Queen's claim. The penalty's no longer there, and Vladimir having a 50% MS increase on spell hit is insane in the late game. You can do both gap close and also scouting with the ghosts as well, so just a really nice itemization choice, and even the 10% CDR to get him closer to the cap.
It's very nice, as we were talking about, not just the AP junglers, but top laners like Vlad, mid laners like Echo, just anything that you want to get on top of someone with. It's pretty abusive. There's that TP I was talking about, already picked up by Prey. Coming into the bot lane, he's not going to miss any of his CS, but he's also going to keep up the pressure, more importantly, in the bot lane.
And the Relic Shield already turned into the Targon's Brace, so more gold for Gorilla. Able to hit something like a Locket earlier, a Redemption earlier. We usually focus on the overheal and also the benefits for the AD carry sharing gold. But the support picking up gold is not going to lead to an Ardent Sensor anymore with the change that item. But any extra gold to supports helps AoE teamfights. Any extra tankiness for the rest of his team will be big for the Targ.
It's a bit of a trolley strat. You really get annoyed by the Sivir never leaving your lane. It makes you feel like you can't leave your lane or else you're going to lose so much CS. Also, your Qs are blocked by the spell shield. Hold that thought. Q is getting teleported on here by BDD. Q already landed by the Lee Sin. First blood given over to Rascal, who flashes in for that one. And they get a 3-on-1 kill. First blood already for the side of Kingzone.
And we follow the logic. We said Vlad will run over Gangplank. We say that Sivir has such a big pushing advantage over Ezreal that she's going to get extra shops in and teleport back to lane. There's so much pressure on the map for KSV, and Ambition sitting there saying, guys, I'm not level 6. I can't come from the counter game. I don't have ultimate to make plays, and his jungle camp's going to be taken away. And if the Rengar is predictable, if they know which side of the map he's on, the threat of the throw of the hunt isn't there. There's so much going on here for Kingzone, and it feels like they have counters everywhere.
So cheeky, the ward placed to allow the TP to come in, and that insta lockdown from the Rise. Even the removed Scurvy cannot save him in that situation. We're getting a look down in bot lane. Where's Ezreal? Can't keep up with the pressure. Core JJ having to hold it by himself already. A bit of a CS lead here for Prey. even Gorilla moving into the mid lane didn't have to stay with the Sivir, helped Rise pick up some extra CS by freezing that while he was going for that gank.
I'm just grinning ear to ear thinking about this particular game. There's so much mad scientist stuff. This is the quintessential season starts our first game. Let's throw some darts at the board and see what sticks. But in this particular game, compared to the previous one, it does feel like mad genius. It does feel like they've got some really big advantages here. And if they can keep the vision, keep making Rengar walk through warded camps, there's a lot of safety, even though they're pushing everywhere, Valdez.
Yeah, that's one thing that you mentioned that I wanted to touch on. We were talking about Peanut's ganking potential, but also he has a ward everywhere that Ambition goes. They know exactly where he is throughout the entirety of his level 1 through level 5, now level 6 so far. And looks like Ambition is going to take this moment as he hits level 6 to clear out the Scuttle Crab in the bottom river. We'll see if he wants to try for any gank, perhaps in mid lane. He's got Crown, who has that nice lockdown as Malzahar.
Can we talk about how Gorilla's first item was a tier?
Yeah, you can talk about it. I don't understand it. What does it mean?
It is an intriguing one. To me, it's about passive uptime, also an ability to spam out the heals, basically off cooldown. Taric, if you're auto-attacking, does run out of mana because he can use his heal basically after every passive proc. So you can be mana intensive, but it just tells you that Taric wants to be auto-attacking and pushing, using spells, keeping his passive up. It's just all about threading the needle and just allowing him to use his E off cooldown as well to help push, of all things.
Yeah.
Taric, the pushing support.
The never-ending push.
JJ uses the shield just to allow Ezreal to back.
Yeah,
he needs
at least
to.
They can get him out of this lane. It was so oppressive, but he actually finds his way out thanks to Corey JJ. Now hitting level 6, but he's definitely feeling it, picking up a tier of his own.
So if you're KSV, right now you're sitting back being like, crap, we're in a pretty bad spot here. Starting to understand and unpack the teleport coming through from the Sivir, the top lane shenanigans, which are going to continue.
Okay, the ultimate landed, but a Q miss by Peanut. And with the TP coming in and the Gangplank ultimate blown, they are not going to die for that one.
Didn't have eyes on Rengar either for the lane gank, so smart of them to pull away. Frost Queen's claim already complete here for Rascal, so now we'll be able to stack up the quest gold that much faster. Doesn't have the minion penalty to deal with anymore. To finish the point on KSV, though, they can still play through mid. Malzahar is always seen as a counter pick into Rise, able to burst him down in one rotation, especially if Rengar's there to help with a bit of damage as well. So mid lane is the only area where KSV is like, okay, we're getting pushed in a bit, but we have counterplay. We do have ability to take them down. The other lanes, they're a bit more on fire for the side of KSV.
Yeah, we saw that instant response of the Sivir once the Ezreal was first picked, and it's pretty obnoxious. We're already seeing how many times you can spell shield the Q. Those Qs that are supposed to be free, that are supposed to get you Kleptomancy procs, they're just denied over and over by Prey against the Ruler. So seeing that Sivir pick, perhaps more in the future against the Ezreal.
Ambition spotted on a zombie ward. They know he's top side now, so Peanut could look for a lane gank here on bot side. Gorilla not even able to complete anything other than his Targons, but stacking up the tier, which, again, we're talking about competitive Taric with a tier. This is happening in front of our eyes, Valdez.
I still can't believe it, but we'll see what he wants to build that into. Any thoughts? I mean, is he going to build it into anything? Perhaps he just uses it for the...
Not anytime soon.
Now.
That's definitely a 6th item dream there. The tier will just set on it. I guess you could build a Manon. I guess you could go for another item, but I don't think you will anytime soon as bot lane.
Ooh, okay. Exhaust is forced to be blown as the ultimate does come out, but...
He has infinite mana, so he can just Q a million times and be full health again.
He almost is full health, has the regeneration. He's sitting in the resolve tree as well, so no doubt has all those nice resolve runes to keep him up and healthy.
And again, if a minion wave is there, Sivir's pushing it. Taric's getting his passive resets also. Just being able to use Q again and again, so not worried about any sort of sustained HP problems in the bot side. Peanut's got a wealth of options, but actually looking to attack the mid lane for now.
Yeah, he just had that one moment up in top lane. Second gank got denied by the TP. This is an interesting play. Ambition at 11 minutes already going for the Rift Herald. I think they must have spotted Lee Sin. A bunch of pings going on to him right now towards the bottom side of the map. So they're just saying, hey, maybe you can get this objective while he's being aggressive.
And again, you take a step back and you're like, wait, that's Rengar with his ult up. He hasn't used it yet 11 minutes into the game, but can I introduce you to lanes you can't gank? We've got Vladimir with stopwatch on the top side. No one likes ganking a Vlad lane. You got Ryze with stopwatch and ultimate. Can't gank that lane either. And bot side has a Tarakin and a Sivir with all their summoner spells up. Can't gank there either. So crazily, Rengar with Warrior Enchant, his best use of time is killing a damn Rift Herald at 11 minutes into the game.
Hey, it's a good trade for him. He takes it out. Only a Cloud Drake goes over to King Zone. It's going to help out their already oppressive engage and movement speed. But Rift Herald is always going to be better than a Cloud Drake. And so he does take that out.
Rengar's the ultimate carnivore, and he's got a vegetarian buffet available to him. That's all he can look at, is looking for these minions, these monsters. He can't look to actually kill anyone, to get his passive going either. The hunt is certainly not on. He's forgotten about the hunt. He left his notebook at home. Doesn't know who he's targeting. It's just about the champion pick and about the fact there's no options for Ambition. And then we already said King Zone have the God teamfight comp, so it's not like farming up is going to necessarily be a win condition either, barring significant mistakes from King Zone.
Okay, we got an opportunity here. The Vlad with stopwatch still available. The silence is going to miss, but the flash forward and the lockdown. There's the stopwatch, but there's no help for Rascal here. Silence is going to pick him up. Ambition going 1v1. Look at this. Level 9 Rengar against level 7 Peanut. Trying to get on top of this. The Realm Orb will be able to help out the Peanut. He does get away just in time with the help of BDD, but Peanut not looking as strong as he did earlier on in this game.
He's 2 levels under Ambition as well, to his credit. He's done what Ambition could always do, whether it was CJ Ambition or Samsung Ambition, now KSV Ambition. Farming the jungle was always one of his strong points, so the power farming and not ganking is at least meant he is at a very healthy point. Nice move there from KSV. Hard to make a gank stick onto a Vladimir, but that time he overextended a bit too much. Ryze wasn't there to shadow. Nice little kill on to start things up as, okay, that happened.
Just not expecting the Vlad to get back that early, I suppose. He had his TP up, he used it, got on top of it.
I hope we get a replay, because I don't even know how he lost the start of his health there. Didn't even require a Hemo Plague from Vladimir. One rotation of spells enough to take him down.
Maybe his smite was down and he was trying to just clear Krugs and go back and took a little bit too much damage. Either way, maybe getting a little bit too caught up in his power farming. Looks like that's what's going on
he
here.
Just took too much damage from Krugs and died.
Exactly. That Frost Queen's claim, I mean, it's one combo from Vlad, you're not getting away.
Most Ambition thing I've seen in a while is bot lane gets a bit frisky.
Yeah, Peanut trying to have some sort of impression on one of these lanes after that first gank. Not working out for him.
World champion, folks. World champion on your screen. League of Legends is a funny old game sometimes.
Earlier today, you walked into the makeup room, and every single former Samsung player that you walked into, you're like, world champion, ruler. They all just like awkwardly laughed at you. Like, what is this guy saying?
As you well know, we have the respect culture in Korea.
Yeah.
But I always say that being a world champion trumps any sort of hierarchical respect as Rascal goes for turret dive.
Stopwatch is going to help out with that ultimate. Rascal is going to actually respect the fact that he cannot take out the Kive. Perhaps didn't know exactly where Ambition was.
He doesn't have 5 points into Tides of Blood yet. If you do, you basically have it off cooldown in 4 seconds or so. And doesn't have a lot of CDR, only the 10% coming through from the Frost Queen's claims. So another 20% CDR, and he was definitely chasing for the kill, but he got the objective. He has a CS lead. It's cementing the fact that this is a lane counter pick. That's why they left the gangplank open.
Yeah. I think we got to look at Sivir's runes earlier on, but I'm not sure if we got to look at Ezreal's runes. There was some talk about that rune that gives you 100 extra health for...
Celestial Body?
Yeah, Celestial Body, but you have 10% less damage for the first 10 minutes. Also picking up Iceborne Gauntlet, you can see that the shields never disappear.
So Iceborne Gauntlet, one of the reasons it's preferred, even in comps where you're lacking damage, which is not one. Remember, they have Gangplank, carry top lane, they have Rengar, who do damage as well. But people are heavily preferring Iceborne Gauntlet because you already have double max health shields with Overheal and also the Targon's Brace quest shield, and then the armor interacts with the extra health from shielding and means you're even more tanky. So when it comes to a 2v2, having armor really makes you basically unkillable as an Ezreal.
Yeah, so he's going to be sitting pretty. It is after 10 minutes, so he gets his damage back if he did take Celestial Body. We did see the Rift Herald kind of pathetically going up into the top lane. Looks like it got delayed by Rascal, who handled that 1v2, and you can see that the top tower is pretty healthy as well still, so not very effective.
I mean, Vlad, Gangplank just can't do anything. He had to go Hex Drink to not die. He's not going this for anything other than just trying to live in lane. Obviously, you want to rush Trinity Force, but even to farm in lane, he doesn't have the luxury of going later for the Hex Drink. He needs it early. This means that he's going to be completely on the back foot. That's why Ruler's trying to push, but pushing against Sivir, definitely an exercise in frustration for an Ezreal.
This is the third time that he's used his ultimate just on the wave.
He has to.
He's not even like trying to kill them. He's alone 1v2. He's just like, I need to push this just to not get pushed in. It's third time.
I mean, usually our analysis would be, all right, isolate the Ryze in mid lane, get a gank in there, gank for it, that's great. But to do those sort of plays, for Malzahar to flash on a Ryze, you need vision, you need map control. They have none in top lane. They've already lost the turret. They have none in bot lane. They have to ult the minion wave just to hope to push the lane. And that means that that's extra safety for BDD, because he knows that there's no chance that they can be so confident to make a play around mid lane when their side lanes are completely on fire. And Ambition will keep fighting.
Yeah, he's sitting at 138 CS, the same as Gangplank, who is in the top lane currently. Lee Sin, Peanut cannot say the same about himself, falling pretty far behind his Ryze and Vladimir, who, you know, to be fair, are very far ahead of their lane opponents in Malzahar and Gangplank. So
they're using their gold on QSSs as well. Both of them want to be able to push up. Even if that gank comes in mid lane, QSS available now. Russell got ganked once and was like, no more of this, and bought a QSS of his own, both for the mid-game fights and also just for their laning phase. They don't need to have tabs on Malzahar at all times if they have that suppression. Sorry, the QSS.
Yeah. Spo TV production got an upgrade here in 2018. We got stuff like jungle proximity. Turns out to be the same for both Ambition and Peanut. Not very much is the amount, 18 seconds, and just one successful gank for Peanuts. Not the most active early game, only 3 kills so far in 18.5 minutes.
And we have the heat map as well. As was the case with Cuz, expect the same with Peanut in the King Zone lineup. Not going to be a lot of attention to the bot side. Famously, Prey and Gorilla got the lowest jungle attention of any team at Worlds. I believe it was any team in the LCK as well. But basically, push and leave is the strategy here for Prey, as the teleport has told us.
That's all he does. I mean, at least Ruler and Score JJ have done a decent job so far.
They haven't lost their turret either.
Is pretty healthy. It's above half health. And so that tier early for Ezreal, helping out with some mana, able to consistently use that ultimate over and over to push the lane back.
And in some games, that'd be enough, right? You'd be like, okay, credit to them. They haven't lost the bot turret. That was the strategy with the teleport Sivir. All right, good thing for KSV is I'll hold the point.
Okay, they are going to go for this Gangplank ultimate coming down, but there's the Cosmic Radiance just in time. Will save Gorilla's life. He is going to get away. Exhaust used onto Prey, but a missed Q is not going to happen. Another 2v2 in the mid lane. There's that Malzahar ultimate, and down goes Peanut. A dive in the bottom lane. Ruler able to pick up a kill down there onto Prey, and all of a sudden this game is open wide by KSV.
Yeah, King Zone don't have a teleport on their top lane. They switch to Ghost to pressure. That means no ability. Could have been a 5-4. Didn't even need to be. Okay, BDD has a stopwatch. Will get out very comfortably here. But winning on 2 fronts because Rascal can't react to anything. 4v4, they actually do way better than expected. No time to coordinate the Cosmic Radiance there from the turret. 2 separate skirmishes. Didn't feel like it was going to be a skirmish game after the QSSs, after the loss of map control by KSV. But they get the map control back emphatically. And while it's only 2 kills, it's wind in the sails for KSV.
It is massive. You know, they take so much pressure off the bot lane. A kill going over to Crown in the mid lane. Props, by the way, to our observer who caught all of this. So we are going to see the engage onto Gorilla.
It's a very late Cosmic Radiance. Gorilla didn't actually believe that all-in would happen here. And when you Cosmic Radiance at low health, obviously much less value. BDD saw Ambition in this area, thought he was going to react to bot lane, but Ambition was staying with the mid lane. He was staying with the pressure of trying to make something happen, and keeping it away from 4v4, away from 5v5, paid off in spades for KSV.
Yeah.
And caught also Prey unawares, not expecting the tower dive from Ezreal Braum.
Well, here we go. Ambition getting caught this time around, but they're not going to go too deep as Gangplank making a visit down into the bottom lane. Some wards being thrown out, seeing if they can engage onto this. Notice that Prey has switched back into heal. This time around, he does not have the teleport, but he's still somehow able to get that bottom turret before Ruler and Core JJ can. So I suppose mission accomplished in the end of all things.
That's what happens usually after you pick up the kills. You're later with your backs, you're checking out your gold values. They're not enforced backs, so it's usually the sort of timing you can abuse. Kingzone pick up the bot lane turret. They also take down the Drake, and making there being multiple long lanes in top and bot is just making Rascal so happy because it's more chase potential onto the gangplank and more 1v1 if they can set up that lane matchup. 2 items complete now on the gangplank. They're able to finish the Mortius and also the core of the Trinity Force, but something like the Youmu's, which is usually the second item, into, say, Asterix Gauge third, which is the common build in Korean solo queue, is going to be necessarily delayed. He's happy that he's against double AP, double usage of the Mortius, but otherwise still behind for the gangplank.
He's going to be sitting pretty in the bot lane. He can eventually push in that bottom turret that is quite low. You can see Ruler and Core JJ making a big move towards this mid lane turret to get a bit more damage. Crown and Ambition, meanwhile, invading onto the red side of the jungle.
But it does mean that because Ambition is topside jungle, KSV for the first time this game, 22 minutes in, are actually running the show. They're forcing Kingzone to react after being on the back foot for so long. One team fight win or 2 skirmish wins lead to this. They take an objective. No answering objective from Kingzone as BDD starts to enter the lane and bot side. KSV, finally, you can see on the heart monitor signs of life. They are suddenly cementing their spot, and they do have a gold lead to their name as well.
Yeah. Gold lead not massive at this point, but you can't always look at just the gold values and what this means. You know, Crown getting very far ahead, Ambition getting some wind in his sails, able to, you know, get some stacks, if you will, for that Rengar. And the pushing advantage as well. The bottom turret is getting super low. Even Crown coming up here with the help of Core JJ and Ruler eventually. Even Ambition joining the fun. We got 4 on 2 so far. Will they go for a dive? Rascal getting slowed on down. There's that silence. Ambition sitting in the brush here, but they're just going to pick up that turret and back away.
While the innovation advantage is there for Kingzone, you have to say the fundamentals for KSV can't be overlooked. Where are they playing around? They're playing around the top side turret, trying to take it down. Multiple control wards, 4 in the river area from KSV. Ambition shadowing it. That was the safe way to take an objective, and Kingzone didn't have any way to react because there was so much darkness on the map that previously was Gangplank under turret, Ezreal under turret. No control there, and the fact that it took so long for that turret to go down bot lane is the sort of thing that's leaving them smarting because they were second to react. They reacted with their Sivir, with teleport, later than the Ezreal, much later than they would have wanted to. So you can see the thought process from Kingzone and the planning, but the actual payoff has been lower than expected.
Flash coming in, but he's in the brush. Will it matter? Looks like Rengar has enough bling, has his own stopwatch, doesn't really help him out, though. Nice little pickup. I think that was another zombie ward that spotted him. You can see just how useful that rune is on a lot of these junglers, and finally, Peanut's vision in the jungle pays off for them in a kill.
Yeah, no true stealth on the Rengar, so coming out invisible wasn't going to help him there. Questionable use of the stopwatch, not going to be triumphant like the previous game, as I hear a shout from Sivir, but just going to run away.
Yeah, and even Cosmic Radiance is burned. Bit of panic, I suppose, on the side of Kingzone. They were not going to be jumped on, and at least discourage the KSV bot lane from going any further. Ezreal with the red buff is kind of scary.
And it's a flow-on effect of the previous ward putting down, because you look at the map and you say, okay, what did Kingzone know from their vision? Very little. Their red buff is covered, not much else. They just didn't know where the rest of KSV was, and they had to use extra ultimates to get out. Now they have to run away. They don't have the Cosmic Radiance.
Oh, look at this. Ruler by himself, with the help of Cuvée, is going to force another Realm Warp to get them back. Prey down to half health. BDD nearby. And Rascal, he got such a good early lead, but he's kind of just running around like a chicken without a head. And now he's all alone. Here comes Cuvée. They're going to push him back. And this means just more pressure for KSV in this jungle.
There's just nowhere for Rascal to go because they don't have control around the Sivir lane like they would have expected with this strategy. The moment that KSV got the vision, got the objectives in top side, Kingzone can't get back onto the map. They're reacting.
Okay, here comes Rascal. He heard me talking about him. He wants to make a play, 4-man ultimate, but the follow-up knockup from the Braum. They're going to turn it around with the help of Crown. Gorilla getting low as well. Peanut is going to get hit by the ultimate of Ruler. This is a stomp by the side of KSV. This is not going to be close. Ambition, he wants that ace, and he is going to get it. A triple kill for Gangplank, another ace for KSV, and this World Championship team is running away with this one.
Exactly, Valdez. They are looking like the team that walked away with the Summoners Cup at the end of last year. Even though the team fight is set up, the team fights are never everyone pressing their buttons at the same time. There's no 4 Rs used in unison, no flying V by the side of Kingzone, cemented by their old triumvirate of Prey, Gorilla, and Peanut. Instead, everyone's kind of alone. Rascal here, ults, gets into the back line, but there's no Cosmic Radiance with it. There's no Sivir ultimate. It's used, but it's not necessarily followed up upon. They can't burst down the first member. And this game that was supposed to be run by the side of Kingzone has been a run away from them, as it's just closest target after closest target for KSV in the fight.
Yeah. Crown, nice patience there. Saves his ultimate for the Rise, who he did have QSS, but it just delayed him that extra second for them to pick up another kill and complete that ace towards the end of it all. But man, this is a bit out of hand. You have the Kleptomancy paying off now in dividends. Gangplank on 3.5 items. Ezreal on 3.5 items. Everybody is just out of control. Even the Malzahar finishing the Void Staff, picking up a needlessly large rod. A finished Banshee's Veil as well. What are you going to do against these big 3 tanks? Not even to mention the Rengar, who already has Guardian Angel.
And it's a game where the gold 8 actually does factor in, because it's sort of game where if Samsung or KSV were up 3,000 gold, you'd say, okay, but compositionally, Kingzone have the better teamfight comp. Composition doesn't really matter when it's 8,000 gold plus. Valdez's turrets keep going down. Doesn't matter when you don't have map control really in any spot. As well, we're all ulted backwards. That was a celebratory moment. That was a bit of the champagne cork.
A little
there.
bit of BM, you know, just to top it all
Don't even
off.
need this.
They're going to 2-0 one of the most hyped teams in all of LCK, and he's like, yeah, I'll just ult backwards. Meanwhile, Cube is going to get picked off here, but doesn't really matter here for KSV. They're pushing into the top lane with that Baron buff. Down will go a turret. Will they push any further, or will they pull the old Samsung strategy and just back off and play it safe? Looks like that's what they will do.
It's funny how even with Kingzone throwing out all these different strategies, after the game, if you're doing the recap, you'd sit there and say, well, Kingzone had some things that KSV didn't really know how to deal with. Early game went the way of Kingzone, as expected, just given the matchup. Samsung versus Longzhu was early game versus late game in KSV's favor. Sorry, in Kingzone's favor. But as the game went on, 1 late Cosmic Radiance, winning skirmishes in mid and bot lane. From there, Samsung or KSV have really never looked like losing. They've cemented their foothold so smartly with vision and macro play, and all the innovation in the world just can't repel stock standard reliable League of Legends, which is what KSV plays in spades.
They are looking so solid, so strong, untouchable at this point. I was looking at the composition of Kingzone coming into this, and I'm like, how can you stop it? This looks crazy. They're going to run straight at you. You can't really do much, but KSV have taught me a lesson, and a lot of people a lesson, especially Kingzone tonight, that you can't just draft this composition and get away with it.
Sort of game that's
going to
be,
inhibitors.
If I'm a coach, I VOD review this game, because Kingzone's can't work till it didn't. And in emphatic fashion, it certainly hasn't. Are we going to see a dogpile under a turret? For now, it's just the Rengar ultimate.
See, Braum can eat a bunch of these turret shots for as long as he wants. But they're going to play it safe. They already take out the 2 inhibitors. They'll wait for the lane. They have that cannon Baron buffed and pushing.
No need to bite off more than the 2. That wouldn't be a KSV move. That wouldn't be more on the Kingzone side of things, but a couple of ults. I just want this turret right now, Valdez.
Look at Peanut. He's already below half health, pretty much useless at this point. Not the start he wanted on Kingzone, that's for sure. Okay, Crown is going to try to ultimate in. We do have a nice Cosmic Radiance. This is their chance. They are going to take out Crown. Peanut is going to go golden. Rascal in the back, 1v3. He goes golden himself. Will he have some support? In comes the Rise by himself. He's low, though. He goes golden as well. It's a Blink-filled game. Can they actually win the fight, though? Here comes Ruler. Still full health. Rascal,
Rengar's ending the game.
He's not in this one. And look at this. Rascal, though, is going to get back his health. Ruler is going to pop forward. And with the health of Cube, is going to to take him out. Ambition is going to work on the Nexus turrets. It was a nice little show, but it doesn't look like KZ is going to win this fight tonight.
Just a single Nexus turret. Rengar didn't even want to fight, just wanted to go for the economic victory by pushing down first the inhibitor, then a Nexus turret. That was the fight. You thought, okay, they've layered everything, but the items aren't there. It's over 10,000 gold lead for the side of KSV. 4v5 they were able to roll through, and Kingzone only have the dregs of their base to show for all of that.
Ambition's like, guys, I gotta get home to the wife. Come on, let's just end the game. Get to work on the turrets. I don't want to do this fighting thing.
So you watch the replay here. You're like, okay, it's going to be a true fight. Vlad gets way into the back line. But I love just thinking about what Ambition says. Ambition's like, all right, I'm tussling the backside. All right, I've been popped into through the Guardian Angel. Then the rest of the team tries to kill everyone else. 4v5, they're able to fight them off, and Ambition's like, well, okay, I'm going to go kill an inhibitor. I'm going to go kill a turret. Ambition playing an economic way. Love to see it. Full screen him. This is how you win games of League of Legends. Not the kills, not the pentakills. So Nexus going down, and his team didn't spare him any blushes either. They were able to pick up a kill, 4v5.
Yeah. Players like Ambition have a big role on teams like this, going for the objectives, does the dirty work in the back line. And either way, I mean, you were talking about the gold lead, and we were mentioning all the items, but Ruler, they got on top of him, but then he just arcane shifted away, and from there, they lost everything, right? The Ghost was down on Vlad, you know, the Rise, he had used his Realm Orb. There wasn't really an opportunity to get on him, and then it was all just his Rift. And okay, here we go, Kingzone trying to make one last-ditch effort, but not going to go in. After the Realm Orb, in comes Core JJ. He's going to get one knock-up onto Prey.
Forces Cosmic Radiance.
Yeah, that he does, and they just immediately back off. Look at the Nexus turret, already super low. And Ruler trying to go 1v1. Ambition now going super deep. He wants a little bit of a show himself, trying to flash away. Will Rascal pick up a kill? Yes, he will. But in the end of the day, KSV is going to be the one doing the killing, taking out the rest of them, and taking out the Nexus in this 2-0 victory over Kingzone Dragon X.
KSV are so damn good at Standard League of Legends, Valdez. They were thrown so many...
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's a decisive 2-0 victory for the world champions, KSV Esports, over the defending domestic champions, KZ. Didn't put up too much of a fight. Guys, his thoughts on the series? Overall, a bit quick, not expected. I mean, two of us have predicted it correctly. How do you feel, Samad?
Well, I feel great. Aaron and I, we were right 2-0 over to KSV. We saw a lot of problems coming out from Kingzone. Dragon X not having Kuntz and not having that top laner that they can always rely on in terms to carry. I think that this game was better from them in terms of the early game, but they just still fell flat.
I don't want to put all of the blame on the fact that they didn't have Khan up in the top lane, because
it's certainly a factor.
Rascal, yeah, it was a factor, definitely, but it's not like Rascal got hard dumpstered at all.
No.
He managed to hold his own and did quite well in that matchup against Cuvée on the Vladimir into the Gangplank. Had about a 30 CS lead on him for quite a bit into that game, although it doesn't quite mean anything because of Kleptomancy. My main issue in this game was honestly Peanut. He really did not get up to much at all in that game.
Okay, so not happy with the jungle performance. Dara, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't happy with Peanut's jungle performance. But I'd like to say that I was maybe a little bit optimistic with the side of Kingzone Dragon X, because coming into this, I gave them a little bit too much credit, maybe because of their win of the Casper Cup 2017 against who were formerly Samsung Galaxy. I expected Samsung Galaxy to win the series, but I expected maybe, even though they didn't have Khan in the top lane, as Aaron was saying, that maybe Rascal would be able to help out the team and still be able to come out with one of the wins. Obviously, they didn't, but it was definitely down to the presence of Peanut. He basically wasn't there for most of the game, to be honest. He had no jungle pressure at all, and I think the Lee Sin pick was a little bit too out there.
Okay, so I'm going to start there. In a moment, we're going to go to a replay that maybe displays Peanut's last grab for early game domination. You guys think it was draft, or do you think it maybe could have been played differently in the game? Aaron, what do you think about Peanut's movements around the map, how he impacted the game?
So I'm going to firstly talk about how, even though the draft decision of picking Lee Sin there, I honestly think was a bad idea. Okay, the replay's ready, so I'll talk about that point
We'll
after
go to that
the replay.
replay right now. We'll get more in a second.
So as we can see, we've got Ambition setting up in that... Oh, no, it's the bot lane first. So we have Braum just jumping in. It's a really nice ultimate land, and just... Even though the Tarak ultimate is burned, and they've got... Okay, no, I can't finish that because of that. Yeah, here's BDD just getting caught out in this river, and then Peanut trying to go for this 2v2 and set something up, but just gets caught out. And then as the Cosmic Radiance has now gone down from Kingzone, KSV are just able to continue that trade and to get the kill up on Prey because they've just got way more HP at the start of that fight.
Okay. So, a bit desperate, not really happening. Bot lane folding.
I think it was basically just a real lack of respect for the power of the Malzahar pick, because he didn't have a QSS. He was going in, and he was just like, I don't care about your Nether Grasp. I'm just going to take it to the face. I really don't care at all. So that just resulted in him dying. We see it with high-tier players all the time in competitive play. Like the other day, it was probably last year sometime, we see Faker very often just sitting there in the middle of the lane recalling, and he's in his shop looking at items, and then he got caught out in a 2v1, and then he just gets blown up, sent back to the fountain. It happens all the time. I think it's just disrespect for the enemy team, or maybe overconfidence in oneself.
Maybe you just gotta brandish your weapons and just make them fear. I don't know. I get where you're going. Okay, Jesper, you wanted to talk about some of the out-game stuff, some of the preparation, masteries and runes that went into this. Masteries don't exist.
Yes, I really want to talk about the bottom lane coming in from Kingzone Dragon X. I think that when you pick up Unsealed Spellbook Sivir, and obviously also pick up the Dematerializer, you give yourself an advantage in terms of getting the bottom lane priority. And I think that when you count that in with the Lee Sin investment coming in from KC, I think that it ends up becoming a bit of a problem for them, because obviously they had so much bottom lane control in the early stages of the game. But with them investing into Lee Sin, they didn't utilize this bottom lane control very efficiently, because they could have utilize the push in the bottom side to gain control over the mid lane, and then use that control from the mid lane to either try to snowball the top side or the bottom lane. But Peanut was busy trying to do something in the top lane without preparing it probably, and without having a Rascal in the right position to do so. Like, they tried to fight against Kuve all the time up there, but they didn't prep it correctly. They didn't have BDD all the time there. And therefore, I think that the Lee Sin ended up falling a little bit flat. And the idea about the Unsealed Spellbook and Dematerializer Sivir was right. It just wasn't the team that utilized it correctly.
You don't think they could get the run-up they needed to get that going?
No, it was like if you see a plane starting without too much of a runway, then it just ends up crashing. And that's exactly what happened in this game.
You heard it here first, guys. KZ crashing and burning in the trees, on fire, no hope. Dara, we saw a big turning point towards the end of that game. It was a little backwards and forwards. We could see KSV bit of stronger position, but there was a specific team fight here that we're going to go through in a moment. It just went. We don't have the replay. Never mind. Talk about KZ getting smacked by
well, I can still talk about the replay even though we don't have it there. It was a 4 versus 5 team fight towards the latter part of the game, and it was in favor of KZ, because the Rengar wasn't actually in the fight. Ambition was off in the jungle,
but he was no part of the interaction.
He was no part of the action at all, and they were winning it until they got a little bit of a flank from Core JJ and Ruler, and they just started to dominate them, then throwing out those Qs from Ruler, and they just started to shred through the line of Kingzone, and they just turned it around completely. Gorilla was forced to retreat. They didn't have the ultimate available, I think, the Cosmic Radiance, and they were just destroyed from there on. And it was just so hard for them to come back from that, especially when Ambition could just jump into the backline and take out Prey underneath the tower. Spell Shield did nothing at that point. And it was just so sad to see, because I had such high expectations for them coming into this series. I was thinking that they could take one game, maybe even potentially go for a second, because it's not just because they won the Caspa Cup in 2017, but because they have that synergy from Peanut, Prey, and Gorilla, all been on rocks before together. And just because they don't have the top layer they're used to doesn't mean that they won't be able to bring the game to KSV. And it was just really sad to see that they lacked that coordination and lacked that target priority in those team fights, in those crucial team fights, and that really cost them in the end.
Sounds good. Well, good if you're a KSV supporter, that is. Okay, commiserations, Dara. We blew it. Our predictions were so wrong.
I'm a little too
Jesper and
optimistic.
Aaron. Yeah, we both were. Your crystal balls are shiny. Good. Myself at least once a week. It keeps me warm. Okay, any closing thoughts? Are we looking forward to our next few series? I'm not sure who's playing, but how do you think patch 8.1 will develop as we go forward? Did we see any critical errors or critical advantages in these games?
Khan will be back in KZ.
We'll start with that. Go ahead.
So that's a critical advantage for King's Own Dragon X, is Khan will now be back.
That's a big one.
Yes, that's one. I also think that for KSV, I think that they played really well in this game. There obviously are some places that they can improve. Specifically, I would like to see more from Ambition. I felt like he was a little bit left behind today. Wasn't playing to his standard from the World Championship. He was, after all, the MVP of that tournament, and I think that he can become much better. Obviously, Peanut didn't do a lot today either, so the two junglers, they definitely weren't the defining factors for the victory in this game.
Okay, I feel we maybe have to give them that one. They've had the off season. Ambition spent some time with his wife. He's had that holiday he really needed. Maybe a bit rusty coming back in. I agree that the junglers didn't close it out today. I mean, Rengar was still great fun to watch. Dara, what are your closing thoughts?
I'm pretty much in the exact same boat as Benvarmeren. Benvarmeren, I should say, not the junglers were basically non-existent for most of the game. For most of both of those games, so I would give the edge to Ambition. He was much more impactful in the games. Although Peanut did have his moments now and then, I think he was far too disrespectful and didn't have the 2 picks that they should have gone for. They did ban away a lot of the top tier jungles, the top tier jungle picks, but I think that Lee Sin is a far lower priority than other junglers that were available. And I think Rengar was fine to pick into this team comp, but the Malzahar, you could have picked something much better than the Rise, I think, into the Malzahar. And I think that Lee Sin should have shown a lot more respect for that Malzahar pick, because that really was the linchpin of the team comp coming out from KSV.
Okay. All right. Is that us all done? I think that's us all done. The series is certainly done. Any final shout-outs or goodbyes to the series? They're sailing off into the distance. We're a bit late. I've Tom Temporal Nash, a big fan of your analysts. It's just a Benvarmeren, Kuntz, and Darxil. We'll see you next week. Hopefully,
Maybe.
Thank you. I'm good.